And looks like we are live. Me.
Whatever.
Go ahead and kill that YouTube browser. All right, who all do we have in here tonight? Just Mopar Joe, LB Bruin 79, Vince. He's going to catch you on replay. Got Blake from Bad Tree Productions, Don and Wendy English. How are y'all tonight? Unfinished project. That's his favorite comment is Dark Sport. Doesn't matter what the video is. That's the comment. Greg McDonald, Dean Stevenson. Glad you guys could all make it. Brian Brinker looks like he's at work, but he'll be listening to us. Mr. Will, how you doing? Greg McDonald. Yeehaw. Glad y'all could make it. Well, I'm finally made it down here. I've gotten an invite quite a while back, and I made it. So I'm between visiting family for the holidays and going over to Tennessee for some New Year's live action. But I want you guys to get to meet Frank Parks.
Hey guys, good to see you out here. I'm glad I get to see you. This is a new experience for me. I'm trying to let the Mopar community and the Mopar world just know a little about me and that I exist, because I've been out here quietly selling these Mopar parts for over 30 years, shipping them all over the world. And there's a bunch of people out there that have never heard of me. And I'm still here, but things are a little different now. I'm slowed down a bit. I'm not selling the parts I used to. I'm actually going to start trying to actually consolidate some parts into components, and those components into some dream cars. That's what my whole plan is here. For 30 plus years is to build some cars for myself and build some of these darts. I made up my mind a long time ago that A bodies were my cars, and I would have to sell my B body and E body parts and project cars to fund this whole operation. I looked at it as a business and a lot of commitment and a lot of hard work. And I'm here now. I've carried all what you don't see. You just have no idea how many projects and parts I have here. But I've carried all this to 2022 almost. And it's time to start playing with it. But I'd like to be able to spend a little time and get to know some of the Mopar community and possibly be part of that community.
We got a good section of Mopar community here.
We do.
And Brian says, nice dart. Mr. Will says, nice swinger. I believe he's referring to this blue dart here. Tell him about that.
Mr. Will, that's a 68 Dodge Dart GTS, and it's a factory 383 4-barrel high-performance 727 car. It's always been in the Northwest Georgia area. It's never left this area since it was brand new. I'm at least the third, maybe the fourth owner that I know of. We have the history known for 3 owners. And one man had it for years. He had it for close to 20 years or whatever. And he's the one that built that car and had it painted and restored a bit back in the late 80s. And I used to see it at car shows. And I never thought it would be mine. I thought I was going to have to make my own or make a clone of a big block car. But that car, circumstances and time, it became available. And at the time I was able to buy it with a bank loan. That's the only car payment I ever had in my whole life. I've never had a new car or car payment ever. And by the grace of God, I got a car payment, got a little financing, paid that high interest, and I'm grateful now I paid for that car. That car's been sitting in here. I took the battery out of it. It hasn't moved since 2008 under its own power, but it's a wonderful old car. It's just, I look forward to putting it back on the road this next year or so and enjoying it.
We're going to say hi to Mopar Mission, the rude Mopar dude, who, by the way, is not rude at all. That's just his name. He's not rude at all. He's actually really
Wonder
nice
why
guy.
it goes by that.
I don't know. We can't figure that out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Wild Rose Garage checking in from Canada.
That's cool. Boy, you guys up in Canada, I don't know how you handle that. One of my favorite YouTube guys is those Cold War Motors. I just love that every Saturday. I'm tuned in. They're a bunch of heads, but I'll tell you, they do some work. I love the craftsmanship and the welding and the fab work they do. Just out of the world craftsmanship and metal work.
Wild Rose Garage. I'd venture to say that you're not sitting in your shop with the door open right now.
We are.
We are.
We are. Got the door where we are.
It's warm. It's t-shirt
Unseasonably.
weather.
Normally, I'm burning firewood with a wood heater 10 feet away from me right now.
It's 70 degrees right now.
And I haven't burned firewood this whole week. Haven't chopped up or bought firewood in the shop here a whole week, which has been just a little break. But yeah, I don't know how you deal with that Canadian stuff.
We have at least one lady in the house. Both Dawn and Wendy English are here. That's a rare treat.
And who are they? I don't know.
It's usually one or the other.
Are they? Do they have a YouTube channel?
Well, they're posting from their YouTube account,
Okay.
but they have twin 62 Valiants, and they're white.
Cool.
And one of them is a 225 Slant 6 car, and the other is a 440 car.
Oh man!
So it's bait and switch.
And
you set your street race up with the 6-cylinder, and then you go.
They don't actually do that, but that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Mr. Will says, "Loving the shirt." That took 6 minutes. We wondered how long that would take.
Is Wendy got the 440 in that car, or the husband?
I think Don has them both now, but his uncle built the 440 cars, as best I know.
Those 62s, they have a face only a mother could love.
Yeah, I think they're neat. I think they're neat.
Being a Mopar lover, I love them all. But my favorite's a 67 up. That square 67 up, that was that's my favorite. But the early ones, I had a few little early cars. One of them, it's a shame I did what I did with it. But back in the 70s, I had a little 65 Barracuda, cheap little car, 273 4-speed, 13-inch tires, 7 1/4 single track. Running, driving car with a boogered up quarter-pound damage. It was very fixable. Of course, in the early 70s, a 65 Barracuda was worth $200 or whatever I gave for it.
Right.
So as a young kid, I went out there and tortured it.
Right.
Of course, I didn't know how to drive, so it ended up slipping and sliding in the ditch a little more and getting tore up. But anyway,
you paid your dues with it.
I eventually. The body was so poor, but the little motor and stuff was good. I sold that motor and transmission, one of my first parts sales as a young man, and it went to our local Dodge dealer who restored cars. He put it in a Dart GT convertible. He was ahead of the curve. This is in the 70s. He was restoring a 64 little early 8-body convertible GT and put that 4-speed and stuff in there. And so it was correct for that car.
Brian is asking, Dust Devil Garage, Brian is asking, can a person make an appointment to come see you?
You don't need anything but a phone call, preferably the day before, just to make sure for your sake that I'm here.
For you guys watching this on replay, we're going to put the phone number down below. But it's Mopar Restos, Summerville, Georgia.
Yeah, you're welcome to come here. We just walked around the place and was showing the rusty relics. I've got a lot of them.
I'll have a video up soon with some select things.
I even have a couple A-bodies here. One is for sale with a price. I just showed John a 74, 360 Duster project car. It's got some merit. It's an ugly one, but it's going to find a home. I'm realistic about it. I'm asking $5,500 for it with a complete front sheet metal to go with it. It's got sheet metal on it, but I've got better stuff put away. It's a wonderful, no floor pan work and no trunk pan replacement. All the metal's there is good except for the lower quarters. A little 360 Duster red, but looking for a home, $5,500. I'm throw it out there. I need to support. Somebody needs a project car.
Wild Rose Garage says it's -11 without the wind chill.
Jesus, and then they throw in those Celsius numbers, and I don't have a clue.
Well, and so we have 20.
That's Fahrenheit.
We have 22 watching so far. If we go down to 21, we'll know it's because he froze to death.
We get cold. We had some 27 and 26 degree mornings here this last couple weeks. Previous weeks.
Yeah.
Which it gets colder. But
Muscle City Madness, Ruben in the house. He says we look comfy. We are. It's nice and comfortable here. Temperature's nice. Been browsing a yard full of Mopar parts and having a good time. And Lunar Outlaw Garage is here. How's the crew doing? Well, I'm doing great. Now the Lunar's here, he's going to bring us all of his celebrity, and more people will now flock because they know he's here.
All right.
That's how it works.
All right. No, I don't have any Toyota power here, bud. No Toyota powers. I'm sorry. I've just kept myself Mopar only all the way. That's all that's in my blood is the Mopar. But I watch your show a little bit and see what you're up to. You got a lot of irons in the fire, but I guess we all do.
Would love to see Frank's Hot Rods and have him check out my 69 Charger 383 HP or 76 Coronet 440.
Yeah. You gonna drive me or show me pictures?
Come down here and give him a ride in it.
Yeah. Especially that Charger.
Yeah, see, Don and Wendy English are trying to get through the winter. See, they're up north.
Where are they at?
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's rough too.
Yeah. We've seen some cars today that have come from up north. He's got a couple here.
One from New York, that rusty one.
Yeah, they're fender deletes.
Yeah, horrible fender delete.
Yeah.
I got one big old Chrysler out there. I showed John a 70 model Newport, 82,000 original miles. It was bought where I'm from, originally from Northport, Chrysler, Plymouth on Long Island, New York, and that was just across Long Island where I was born and raised. But anyway, I bought it many years ago as a running car. It's got a 383 4-barrel high performance, complete engine, transmission, a running rusty car, but the motor still got that original carburetor and the air breather, dual snorkel air breather, upswept manifolds. It's complete running car. Of course, it's look. If anybody needs a 70 HP setup, maybe they could want it worse than I do.
So Blake, Bad Tree Productions, is asking, what was Frank's first Mopar?
A 1947 Plymouth Special Deluxe. I say Special Deluxe because it wasn't just a Deluxe. It was a Special Deluxe. That was the trim level with an actual metal badge. Coupe. It was a 5-passenger coupe. It had the rear seat. It was not the business coupe or the moonshine coupe. But my dad bought that for me for my 12th birthday. He bought it out of it, south side of Atlanta, Georgia. We were living below Atlanta at that time as a kid. And that was my first birthday, my first car in Mopar. And he paid $75 for it with a blown flathead 6. I never did get it running, but I took that car totally apart. And we were living in a mobile home at the time, hadn't owned our own home yet. My dad was trying to find a home and get the family moved up. But anyway, I was out there with Dad's 3/8 variable speed drill with the wire brushing that frame rails and stuff. I took the body off the frame, and that was my first project. That had the cleanest frame that went nowhere. And the body sat on barrels for years, and it was lost to a brush fire years later. I never did do anything with it, but I learned.
You have the heart of a restorer.
Yeah, I do. I like to take something and it could be a small component. I take 2 carburetors and make one, or 3 carburetors and make one, and make a beautiful one. But
Mopar Den in the house. How you doing? See, they all greet him when he comes in.
Yeah.
He's one of our upstanding regulars.
The Bad Tree Productions.
Yes.
67 big block in a Barracuda, or 67 Barracuda.
So if you're talking about the Nacho, that would be a small block car.
No, that's the wrong
That's
wrong
their
channel.
67.
Excuse me, that's
67.
my bad. Who is the man on YouTube that has a big block and a fastback? I don't know if it's a real big block car, but it's a 383 and a 67 Barracuda fastback.
Blake, if you know, let us know, or anybody if you know.
Yeah. And I just had a new customer. This is fantastic, and he's a YouTuber. I found him on YouTube. You guys will get to know him possibly in the future. His name is Jeremy, and he's at Broken Budget Mopars is his channel, or Broken Budget Mopars, and
What's he drive?
he's a 19-year-old young man in New Jersey.
Okay.
And living in that Rust Belt.
My fault.
He has. I told him to tune in tonight. I don't know if he'll be able to, but I
Sure
talked to him. But anyway, he on his channel, he's working on a 71 340 Duster, a real 340 car, and it runs.
Oh yeah.
It has a 340.
I've seen that.
It's not the real original engine, he said, but it runs and drives. It's roached, and a tree fell on it, or his barn fell on it a little bit. I heard it, but he'll fix it. But that young man impressed the hell out of me. He was in there on his YouTube channel. He's trying. I don't know how many subscribers he has, but he's trying to build a channel. And he went in there with a grinder and cut off wheels, and you know how nasty it is cutting the floorboard. Mm-hmm. He has a brand new full AMD pan, and he's going to replace the floors. That's the first start, of this running car. Right. And his goal is not to restore it, just so he could drive the damn thing safely and keep the floors keep from falling out of it.
Auto Salvage Outlaws notes, we got some big channels in the house. We do. We have Lunar Outlaw Garage, Hoosier Garage, Bad Tree Productions. Joe will probably drift along here eventually. Tony sometimes drops in on these. But yeah, we got a real community here. And we want you guys to get to meet Frank Parks.
I do. This guy I was talking about, though, he's that little 19-year-old young man. He's got a 69. This is not his first rodeo. What impressed me about him, I watched the YouTube videos, and everybody has their own skill sets and skill levels. Right. That's to be expected. But this young man ripped the floor pans out, and that's a crappy job, but he ripped the floor pans out. And the lower inner rocker had some rust and stuff, and he went over with a Z wheel and cut a little piece of scrap metal out or something. And, you know, had this little triangular strip and put it in the back of the rocker panel and grabbed a MIG welder and plugged that thing in there. This 19-year-old kid doing metal work, that very impressive.
Yeah.
It didn't even slow him down. He saw the rust, he figured out how to fix it, and he started attacking. So anyhow, he's got a future, but I ended up contacting him because he needed, from what I saw in the video, he needed a little structural piece of his mid pan that was damaged. So I had some that we sold them. But anyway, we did a little communication, and he was proud to tell me this isn't his first rodeo. I asked him when he learned to weld. His dad taught him how to weld at 12 years old or 14 years old. So he's been welding for like 5 or 6 years already. But a young person doing that kind of work is very impressive. I need somebody like that. Is there anybody out there that knows a car guy? It doesn't have to be a Mopar guy, but a young car guy that would love to get. I'm looking for a body man type person that wants to do the sanding and the bonding, the blocking and painting. And I'd like to have a mechanical person. I'd like to ideally, if I can keep this place going into the future, I need some new blood. And if anybody has some car people, young people out there that are serious, you know, that want to put their love for the car before a big paycheck.
I figure you'll appreciate this. Lunar Outlaw Garage says he's got an AMD pan on the driver's side of his satellite. The passenger side is half of a BMW hood.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Or a stop sign. That's how they do it in Georgia down here. We just get a stop sign. Or Alabama, get that stop sign and stick it in there.
Hey, he's put a little German steel on that Mopar. Well, I won't tell anybody. Happy in-betweenium team. Good action tonight. Oh, yeah. This is what it's about. Come and hang out with you guys. This stream is about y'all, not us. Hopefully more young people catch the muscle car bug to keep these cars alive into the future. Absolutely.
I want to be optimistic, but I'm also realistic, and I fear that it's not going to happen to the level we need. Once we're gone, I'm speaking for myself, but once this generation is gone, I've been doing this so long, I have outlived my customers. 30 plus years I've been selling vintage Mopar parts. And some of my customers bought those cars brand new back in like a 68 Plymouth Fury or a 68 Roadrunner or whatever. And they had them in all in the 90s and the 2000s. If they weren't actually doing it, their son or their family was doing that family car. And they passed on. They're gone. The cars have gotten sold. Some of these cars have left the family ownership with my paperwork, and I have a second owner now 30 years later with the same car or another Mopar car in their collection. But, excuse me, but I've outlived a generation. Excuse me, too much Dr. Pepper.
You can't have too much Dr. Pepper.
I've outlived a generation of people, and I have a feeling that there's more cars out there that need love than there are young people that can afford or really care to do it. But maybe I'm wrong.
Lunar Outlaw Garage says he's looking at the walls and shelves. He likes your shop. Is a sharp shop. There's all kinds of stuff in here. I'm going to be putting out a video with a sampling of things that are here on this property. So
and you'll have to excuse my awkwardness. This is the first time I've ever been on any kind of video live, and certainly maybe I'll adjust to it, but it's a little different.
It's a little different, but you're just hanging out with 33 friends who are enjoying it. So Blake says that, let me scroll up and catch it there. Jeremy on our channel is looking for a small block single quad tunnel ram.
Who's looking for that?
Jeremy on the Bad Tree Productions channel.
I don't have any small tunnel rims. I got a pair of 383 tunnel rims. I don't know if they can see it on the shelf back there. One's an old Y-end, and I picked that up with a whole GTS big block motor project. It's a low deck 383 Y-end bare manifold, beautiful, no damage, no modifications. And then I picked up a Offenhauser. It's a little taller, but I've got two of those. I hope to build one anyway. I'd love to have a tunnel rim. I've never done it. I'm going to watch Uncle Tony do one and learn off of him from his carburation stuff. Unity
Motorsports.
He's going to help me. Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to learn something from that.
Mopar Den is asking if you can confirm, was Chrysler putting in Holley 2282 barrels in 72 318s?
That sounds like a car. I don't know what number carburetor he's talking about, but is that like a 360 style Holley you're talking about?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a Holley 22. It's a Holley
know.
2 barrel.
I don't. The only thing when he mentions Holley 2 barrel of that vintage, I'm thinking of the ones that were typically on a 360 2 barrel Fury or a Dodge pickup or something. I have a few. There's nothing good or bad about them in my opinion, but it's just what it is. But the flange is different than a 318. They have a bigger flange.
It is.
So you can't directly bolt them on.
It's bigger than the Carter BBD type.
Right.
I
don't know if that's what he's talking about.
Hoosier Garage is looking for a 70-71 A-body rally.
I bet you are, guy. I've got a 70 model 340 Duster cluster put away, uncut, raw, the ugly finish, but unbroken, uncut. And the harness and the dash and all that put away for 30 years or 25 years.
Well, there you
I've never had those. Those things were hard to find years ago. People don't realize that. They see goodies and they're optimistic and they want it. And I love
you never saw them in a junkyard.
No, they were gone.
Right.
They were gone. I mean, stripped out. And how many 340 cars were in junkyards? Plenty of Dusters, no 340 cars. And people get the wrong idea. Then they look at, like last time I had a little video exposure, you get the guys, and I love the Mopar guys. I love them all. And I could, love to have some new customer base. But they call you for shaker hood parts.
Right.
35 years of A, B, C, and some E. I've never been a Mr. Ted Stevens or anything like that. Just a little bit of E, all gone. And they're asking me I have never had, in all the swap meets and the Mopar shows I've ever been to, I have never picked up a piece of an air grabber, a shaker hood car part. Never. Now, I have had beautiful air grabber, Roadrunner, pop-up door hoods, multiples. I've had the 71 and 2 B-body air grabbers, a few in decent shape. And I've had more than a few 69 air grabber parts. The whole hoods, the boxes.
Right.
That stuff was gone and sold by 2000. It was gone. And it's never to be found again. So, people just don't understand that it was rare then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And if you find some now, quality to me is more important than price. And being a parts dealer, and I will pay up if I know how rare that part is and I want it for my car. I paid up for it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Like you were saying, you can't buy it too soon or pay too much.
It's not the price, it's the time.
Right.
So whatever's a bad price today might be a steal 10 years from now.
Right. And I just determined that I'm for real and I'm going to build this for my future. And here I am 30 years later. And I have that stuff because I manned up. I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to jump off. A start story. Remind me because I'll get off sidetrack.
Well, we do want to greet Aaron. See Peckerwood Customs there. He says,
I'm not familiar with him. Hey.
He says good morning because he's in Australia.
Oh, my God. I've shipped some orders to Australia.
They pay for it, too. That's expensive.
The shipping is very expensive over there. Yep.
Aaron of Peckerwood Customs. Auto Salvage Outlaws. He said Mopar here in Bama, getting hard to find. How far are we from Alabama?
We're 15 miles, right?
15 miles?
Yeah, 15 minutes, 11 miles as the crow flies from the Alabama border.
Wild Rose Garage. So we're catching up on comments, but he said it's weird talking to a camera. He's just getting used to that whole thing, but he does really good, by the way. And he's really smart, that Wild Rose Garage. Very sharp. Mopar Man 78, how you doing?
I know I've seen his name all over, but I don't know what
really
is he
sharp.
into. What is he into?
Well, he's into Oldsmobile.
Mopar Man 78 into Oldsmobile?
No. I'm talking about Wild Rose Garage.
Okay.
Mopar Man 78's into Mopar.
Okay.
He's got a Dart and a D150, and Yeah, they're both kind of
Driver cars,
getting used to
project cars. What?
Yeah, project cars. They're getting used to the whole thing of YouTube. Kind of got to grow on you
With
a
his
little
own
bit.
channel.
Yeah.
Growing pains.
Well, you gotta, YouTube is one of these things. It takes some getting used to. It takes getting used to seeing yourself on camera. It's not, it's nothing I sought out to do, but it's the only way to share this stuff.
What's the hardest number to reach on subscription numbers on YouTube?
The next one
is 1,000.
The next one, and I mean that seriously.
Okay.
The next one, because no matter what you're doing, you have to have more content and a new plateau. Everybody's got a plateau.
Content.
So, like for instance, Bad Tree Productions just crested 3,000. I'm knocking on the door of 2,000.
Yes.
Muscle City Madness on here, he's almost at 1,000, and he's starting to do some subscriber drives to try to get that 1,000.
And how long has he been on with his channel?
Took me it takes about a year of serious work for most people to get 1,000, it seems like. And you get your feet wet, you figure out how to edit video and all of that. But, they're all hard earned. And, Lunar Outlaw Garage, he's got to about 16,000.
Are you familiar with the fella out there, Johnny Mopar?
Johnny Mopar.
Have you ever done any live with him or anything?
Yes, actually I have. I haven't had him on as a guest, but I have been in a roundtable live with him with a few other folks.
Mm-hmm.
Good guy, real nice guy. Bad Tree Productions says 67 Barracuda windshield gasket.
No, I don't have any guy.
Well, it's worth asking.
Yeah, I've got, believe it or not, I have a front one for a 4-door Valiant. I just took out of my 4-door driver car and put a 68 trim on it a couple summers ago, new windshield. And anyway, I saved that gasket. Old inserts are gone. It's still there, but it's for a 4-door. But yeah, you're never going to find that.
Jay Rabbit Transit Garage says, yes, it takes some getting used to. It absolutely does. And Bad Tree Productions saying, learn and adapt. That's what it's about. The hardest video to make is the first one, because most people will take 10 years saying, I'm going to make the first one. And once you make the first one, it gets easier.
Well, can you predict, like, realistically, like, will you be 5,000 this time next year? Possibly?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, you don't have like
but what happens is you do something that people are interested in, and it gets shared, and just enough of the right people look at it, and the internet says, hey, this is a video worth promoting. That's just kind of how it works. Mm-hmm. Auto Salvage Outlaw says 1,000 is the hardest. I would have been there 2 years ago, but had to stop because of life. Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean,
people have a family.
It's tough. Yeah, I'll send Johnny a link.
Yeah.
So Blake is going to send Johnny Mopar a link. Who knows? We may see him pop on here.
I've watched some of his videos. He's got some pretty decent videos.
He does.
I've enjoyed on Johnny Mopar. The technical content is there, but since I've already been there and done that multiple times, I don't tune in. Like I know how to remove K-frames and stuff. I've got a stack about that.
Right.
But I've enjoyed Johnny Mopar recently. He's gone out to some, I think they're personal friends or Mopar buddies, so to speak, out west there, and looked at a Hemi car and some really nice project cars or stuff for sale, or the collectors have.
Well, his stuff's dry.
Oh, out there, yeah. Everything's dry out there. I've seen a few cars that came from that area, years ago. No undercoat and no rust.
Yeah. Mr. Will says, I try to support all the good guys we have on here. I appreciate that. I will say the YouTubers I like best are the ones who are all part of this community. There are some that don't want to be part of a community. They just want to make content. I like to be part of a community, and then we all kind of share and work together. So to me, that's just the way I like to be. But I appreciate that, Mr. Will. And that's why I try to greet each of you guys as you come in, because you are the reason we do this. Where surprised me has really nice dry cars? I was in Lakeview, Oregon here a few years ago, and you don't think dry cars, but they get snow because they're 5,000 feet up. But it's the high desert.
I've heard that term,
high
desert.
Yeah, it's the high desert. So you can get snow because of the elevation, but it's dry. I couldn't believe how old the daily drivers were in this town. People driving stuff from no rust at all.
Amazing.
Stuff from the late 60s, mid 70s, daily driven cars that just never rotted. And this was in 2017.
My kind of people.
I went out there. I
My
could not
kind of
believe
people
it. I just
driving
couldn't
them.
believe it.
Yeah.
So that blew my mind how old the cars were people were driving every day. And they have mule deer. And
They
the
have what?
mule deer.
Oh.
So you know what a normal deer looks like, right?
We
With a
got
white
plenty.
tail.
Oh,
Sure.
We got plenty.
Well, the mule deer is this gigantic deer. I'm talking 4.5, 5 feet at the shoulder, and they have giant velvet racks.
A moose deer.
Oh, and with the rack, they're 7 feet tall, and they walk around right in the middle of town, and people don't even look at them. They're so used to it. I would see them walking
They're not
through.
afraid of you?
No, they're tame. Walk through the parking lot of the grocery store.
Wow.
Just walk around people's yards, and so the old cars and the mule deer were just two things that blew my mind about.
What were you doing in
place.
Oregon?
I was there to go to
YouTube
Thunder
Live?
Ranch. I was there to go to Thunder Ranch, take a rifle class. That was a different place.
It was this many years ago? You said
This was 2017.
Oh, yeah.
2017.
You drove out there?
I flew
Oh.
because I would rather drive because this was before the politics of flying, right? That we've got the last couple of years. But to drive it, it takes 3 days to go out and 3 days to come back. So that's an extra week just to make the trip, not including what you
What's the furthest you ever drove?
Well, I've ridden across the country before. I mean, end to end.
The furthest I ever drove a couple times in my life was from Long Island, New York to the Florida Keys.
That's a long drive.
Yes. And one of those was in a 69 Roadrunner convertible that I had number 2, second use, with the top down. And I had seriously, like 3rd-degree sunburn burns.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible.
On one side.
No, the whole top of my shoulders.
Oh, really?
A bench seat car.
Oh, both sides. Okay.
With no shirt on, like a fool, young kid. Had it not been for some woman down there in the Keys with some aloe vera or some aloe plant saved my butt. Found that native plant and put that stuff on me. Oh, I roasted myself.
Ooh.
And I sure wish I had that Roadrunner convertible back.
Captain Dew likes your 68 Dart. He says to coupe, it's a hardtop.
It's a $2 hardtop.
Yep. If people can learn or make money from your YouTube channel, it will prosper. I hope people can learn from mine. Bad Tree says J-Bo bought a 68 convertible Barracuda from California in the late 90s. It was nice to work on. No rust. See, they're in Iowa. He says, Iowa stuff, you're breaking bolts. And
Rust country. I've shipped a lot of sheet metal up to the Ohio and that Midwest area. Oh, my God, I've shipped sheet metal in the good days. Before AMD reproduced B-body stuff, that's what I sold. Oh, every inner fender and wheel tub or frame rail section I could box up. Yeah, those are good years for parts sales.
How have you seen it change from, say, 20 years ago? What's the biggest thing that's changed about parts sales?
Well, people don't a lot of reproduction, which is wonderful for the hobby. My view of reproduction parts, I'm not going to go into quality issues or debates. That's too, one-on-one item. We can't do that. But yeah, there's some inferior quality, I'm sure. I don't hand a lot of repros on it because I'm not doing the volume of restoration, putting those parts on cars. But all the sheet metal that I've touched, for example, from AMD, and I've touched more than a few pieces, quarter panels, floor pans, trunk pans, body work is body work. And, some of that factory stuff didn't fit good together.
Yeah.
When you start mixing them.
A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of that factory stuff didn't fit off that great either.
I've got, the side of a B-body Charger with none of the lines. It's just horrible the way they built the car. But anyway, I'm grateful as hell that they come out with this reproduction parts because it's turned a lot of parts cars into viable, buildable cars.
It's saved cars, yeah.
It is. It's saved. So, and then people begrudge the fact that, the price of the cars or the parts. I can't make a floor pan, but I sure will weld one in if they make a nice one for me.
Auto Salvage Outlaws is asking what transmission Dodge called a push button. I think he's just asking about the push button shifter stuff in general. Have you done much with push button?
I've sold them. I have the 64 back cars. I still got a few odd cables and some push button assemblies just for people if they need certain parts. But those things are so model specific, like the fascia and the pattern of the buttons and the style of the buttons. It's like an Imperial is different from a Dart, and a Valiant's different than this, So if you want 1 year, it's a hit and miss.
Mr. Will says the nice, genuine people or something are the key to a channel taking off. So he says, genuine, honest people. sit down and talk to people like John W. Well, I'm glad when people want to sit down and talk, but we do this for you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy talking to Frank Parks, but I can do that. I enjoy this format, so all you guys can do it, because maybe all you guys, can't make it here. So this lets you guys from all over the world get to join in and have a conversation. Richard says that you still hear from Uncle Tony.
You're going to be there in a few minutes.
I hear from Uncle Tony. I'm going to see him this weekend. AMD is saving my Challenger. See, there you go.
Go AMD, yeah.
Yep.
I hope they don't back order the stuff, or with shipping problems. But
here's an interesting one. Jimmy Fed, good day, gentlemen. Have either of you ever heard of a pre-production LA small block that was a 331 that morphed into the 340?
No.
What in the world is that?
Something I never heard.
So I know you had a 331 first gen Hemi, but that's a whole different animal. And I don't even know what that would be.
Yeah, that man, the torque flight, the power flight.
Yep.
Yeah, I had one of those power flight transmissions, and this a long time ago, but I finally found a home for it, giving it away. And then I had a torque flight transmission, a very unusual. It was a push button, and it was out of a 1960. I just bought the 413 motor in the torque flight training. But anyway, I sold that transmission. Of all people, they were in California. That was back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
I had to pallet that thing. That was a big, heavy son. That was a cast iron torque flight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't picked one up.
They are really heavy.
You think an aluminum one is beefy? That son of a gun, I never forget what it weighed. It seemed like 400 pounds to pick that thing up.
Speaking of California, Tall John's Fun Shop is in the house. He came here from California.
He's got that road run. I've watched some of his.
Right.
Yeah, I've watched some of his shows.
Tall John in the house.
Yeah.
Tall John, I need to get with you. I got something we might need to get together on tomorrow or 31st or something. Yep. So you have a good community here. Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
Richard Price says great live, and thank you. Thank you for being here. That's why we're doing this. I mean, I'm just thrilled you guys want to watch and hang out with us.
You know what I just noticed? I'm not sure if it's something new. I noticed on a couple of the YouTube channels just today or the last couple of days, when you get over there with their IDs, the channel ID, have you noticed they have like a map pinpoint and yours said Christiansburg?
Yeah, right. Not everybody does that when they post.
Did you do that in other words?
Yeah, I do it.
Okay, I just recently, I noticed on yours and I noticed on another one.
You actually can search geographically where you want to watch these. Nobody does that because the internet is so worldwide, but I always put the location of where I film. So that pinpoint will say Summerville on the video.
Oh, today's, okay.
Yeah, so geographically people will know where I filmed.
But it's not real. They don't need that to tune in.
Jimmy Fitz says he was talking to a guy on Steve Magnante's channel.
I love Steve. He's awesome.
Who swore the 340 was first a 330. Well, Steve says it. Now I've got to investigate because now it just became something worth checking out. I want to see what in the world he's talking about.
You see that rust-free car, and has floors, but a Texas car. It's not rust-free, but that Texas car he's going to build.
Oh yeah, that 62. I like
Max Wedge.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's a real police car at that.
Yeah, I like it.
That's a rare one. The oldest one of those cars I had a 63 Dodge, a four-door parts car in my yard, a B body. That's the oldest. I never had a 62. But I did have a 62 Belvedere in my yard. That was the oldest Plymouth B body years ago. Parts car.
You've been here since 94?
Spring of 94. I opened the place up.
And
put the gravel down and put the cars out here.
And this building was
here.
You built the building. Okay. Wow.
Built the building, built the parts building initially, and then I put 6 53-foot trailer bodies down over the years.
And there was nothing on this property.
There was a bunch of weeds and some small, nothing substantial as far as trees, but scrubby stuff. We had to take a couple of trees down.
For you guys who are just tuning in, because they typically come and go in shifts on these lives. Hello, Diana Mendez. Thanks for dropping by. You came to town here, and you came here with a 4-door.
Yeah, I want to tell a story to some people here, and maybe people can catch it on a rerun later on if they're not tuned in live. But I started coming here in the 80s because I had some family. My sister ended up coming up here, got married to people up here. So I started coming up here and being aware of the place. And I was originally lived down there in Noonan below Atlanta. But anyway, that area got so overgrown and so developed. It wasn't like it was. So I fell in love with this country and this country's rural setting up here. And I was on hard times. I showed up here with a 75 Valiant 4-door 6-owner car, a beater, a $200 wreck beater car. Anyway, and no toolbox. And I was mechanic and body man for a living and no toolbox. It was hard times. But anyway, I got a job. Man had used cars, and I got a job fixing wrecks. And he also sold vintage cars and had a few Mopars. So we sort of made a little couple. You know, he liked what I could do for him. I could rebuild some of the wrecks, and then we dabbled playing with some of his vintage Mopar stuff. Well, anyway, things got out of hand, and we ended up restoring one of his Challengers and took it to the Mopar Nationals, the very first show in '93 that car that I restored ever went to. And we got a second place in the concourse class.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
The very first show, and then we showed it around a few shows around the Southeast United States. It always trophied, but it was just a 340 Challenger. This is in '93. Yeah. This man had more money in that car than a frown mouth Challenger warranted. At that point, people weren't restoring those cars. So it was out of its element, you know, time-wise, but it was beautiful, you know, if I don't say so myself. But anyhow, I made a little name for myself here and got recognized, and because from my talent, and because of that, I got a man that was able to fund me on this shop. And I never looked back, but basically I came here, and my love for Mopars, I determined that I was going to save as many of these cars and parts for the future so I would not be without. I have never drove anything in my life but 1960s and 70s cars. To this day, I have never owned one. I have a 77 pickup truck and a 78 pickup truck I used to drive. And I have never owned anything newer, and I never will.
He's the real deal.
I am 100% vintage Mopar. This whole place, it's all 100% vintage Mopar.
You live the lifestyle.
But
a lot of people don't. They vacation in the lifestyle.
No,
you actually
or mimic the lifestyle, or put their T-shirt on and go to the car show.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
it.
Lifestyle.
That's it.
This is it. But let me tell you something. I was making $5 an hour back in early 90s, working for this man. And then I initially, after a few months, whatever, he saw I had talent, and he bumped me to $7.50 an hour, which was very low. But I got to stay at his shop and keep cars at his shop and keep some parts at his shop, and things started growing out of control. But I had started going to the junk dealers and the scrap dealers, and even in the early 90s, there was not a lot. You just didn't go out and find Hemi Challengers in the woods or anything, but you could find some carcasses and New Yorkers with 440s and Valiants. If it was a Mopar vintage, I would go buy it, or the parts. So I started buying and stripping and stacking up parts, and the local people would find me, and I started selling parts, you know, like Super B clusters, instrument clusters, and hoods, and whatever I had. So I made a little local name for myself, and things started growing. But I slept on the floor of this man's shop, making $7.50 an hour, working, you know, ungodly hours, like 40, 50 hours a week, whatever. And slept on the floor of his shop so I didn't have to pay rent at an apartment and utilities. So I could spend my money buying vintage Mopar parts from the crusher and stuff. And I still have some of these cars and stuff that on the property right now that I bought years ago. And it's sort of like a joke, but it's reality. A pork and beans or a beef bologna and pork and beans collection of a lot of this stuff, because if it wasn't just sheer dedication on my part, those cars and parts would have been gone.
You dedicated your life to saving this stuff.
Yes. But with a plan, not just to pile them up and hoard them up. And that's what people see me, and they see he's a hoarder. A hoarder. I get such stigma the thing is, everybody hoards something, but I have a plan, and I stuck to my plan for 30-something years. I've sacrificed beyond sacrifice to save these cars and parts. People don't understand that. I have worked thousands of man hours. If you could just see here, come here and look, thousands. And I've never been paid. Think about it. Get up, wipe the sleep out of your eyes, hop in your car, go to work, punch your clock, do your 9 to 5, 5 days a week, maybe 6 days a week, overtime. Do that 1 week, no money, no pay, no paycheck. Do it a second week, do it a third week, do it a month, do it 5 months, do it a year with no pay. How long would you actually do that with no pay? Well, here I am, and I have the hours, and you know, it is what it is. You know, I'm not smart enough to have been a doctor or a lawyer or something, but you know, at least I'm not in a cubicle somewhere doing a 9 to 5. I wouldn't fit in that office anyway.
Wallace Clay's asking, what do you guys think is the most underrated Mopar body style?
Underrated I'll tell you what I think, being a diehard Mopar guy, period. I love them all, but I'm an A-body guy, as everybody knows. But I'll tell you what's underrated is the A-bodies. They don't get any respect. They're just now getting some respect. And I had to put up with people that come here, and if they ask you about how many E-bodies you have or how many B-bodies you have, and if you tell them we don't have that, you know, get in the car and leave.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a Mopar person.
Got a good crowd here. JMR's here. Do you think Mother Mopar put the frowny face grill on the Challenger because they knew the performance days were over?
I don't know, but you know, being around those cars and actually working and restoring on that particular car, it's grown on me. I wouldn't have picked it, but I don't even look at it as a frown mouth anymore. I just, you know, I'll tell you, when I drive my little 67 Valiant, and it's just a 4-door, a little POS car. But anyway, that 67 Valiant, if you know, it has that giant ornament, a bling emblem in the middle of the grill. And I thought that was corny as hell, you know, when I've been around it and driving. And again, it's grown on me. I wouldn't change it. But, you know, certain styling things on these cars is a little weird, but that's Mopar.
Well, see a few people here. We did see one person say the K car they thought was underrated. I kind of agree.
I don't want to step on hurt anybody's feeling, but you know, come on, guys.
Well, whatever you think.
If you got a love for a K car, my dad bought one of those things brand new, and he was an Imperial man for decades, and he ended up with one of those Mark Cross, what's that, Town and Country convertible with wood grain,
right?
84, I think was the year, brand new, his new showboat. You know, what a disappointment. He had a 75 Imperial at the same time. He didn't even drive the K car. His girlfriend drove it. He drove his freaking Imperial. We've had a joke.
A number of guys here say they think the F-body, the Aspen Valari.
I've never been a fan of those cars. The ones I do like, of course, like everybody, the Roadrunner version or the Super Coupe type F cars. But hell, they're not out there, and they were rare forever. No one has them. You know,
the thing about the F-body, it's almost like they took an A-body and then they just made it worse in every little way they could.
Amen.
That's what
the worst thing about it, even the 73 up A-body suffered with those bumpers.
Right.
You know, the 74.5, that heavy. But the F-bodies, they were horrible. And you know what I couldn't understand about the F-body? That front end.
Well, they just added, how much, what?
The cross front end. You know what I'm talking about?
The torque bars.
Why? What was
I have no idea.
What were the engineers doing, Acid?
So not only that, but when they isolated all of the suspension and that rubber, I hated that.
That was
and they made the car weigh about 300 or 400 pounds more than it needed to.
The Ricardo Montalban.
And then there's lean burn. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. All of that stuff. I just
I still got a couple of those engines lean burn. You know, big like 440s out of those New Yorkers, and I even got an air breather 2 lean burn up on the shelf. I never have. I've had some running cars, but that's still functioning. And I've had some of those parts cars where it was, you know, a point distributor put in it. It was retrofitted. But
the angle torsion bars, exactly.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I don't understand.
JMR says an Intrepid. Oh my gosh, no.
He's got an Intrepid.
Intrepid.
I've got a T-shirt for him.
More power to you, man. The younger generation. William Sanders says the younger generation has no point in doing it. The cars they would get and take apart and save the parts to. People wouldn't buy the used part. And that might be something to that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the newer cars, like the performance cars, the Mustangs and Challengers and Camaros?
I have
They'll be
no
collectible.
interest, but I
No,
have no
I
interest
personally
in
have.
that. No, that's just me.
Yeah, I personally have no interest.
I let me tell you, the electronic ignition control box.
I wouldn't.
To me, that's the only computer I'm like, but it's still. Well, I mean, I kind of, I don't
can
like
deal with
any
that.
computers.
Yeah, I can deal.
I
with
can
it.
deal with it.
It's no problem with me. The electronic, but that's it. When the cars got smarter than me, I'm out of there.
Taylor Pinckney in the house. He has a nice Duster project. Deep Junk Garage. The best Mopar I ever had was my 73 340 Duster Space Duster.
The fold down seat, yeah.
Yeah.
And a sunroof. Hell, I was just showing you that
Yeah.
sunroof. I got a sunroof out there.
Yeah.
Cut off a car off a Duster. That's a rare one. That was a rare one.
Lunar Outlaw Garages, I bet you every generation say the same thing about the previous generation.
They do. And when I grew up, it was the guys, the older geezers saying, after the war, they quit making cars,
Kind of, but here's the thing. During the Great Depression, my grandfather didn't have that attitude. He thought that the next generation was going to have it so good, because he lived through the Depression. So it is a little different now because we see the world a little differently in relation to history.
Well, you know what I like about these cars, I had some 30s cars. The oldest Mopar I ever had was a 1934 Dodge four-door sedan, a running driving car when I was in high school. I made payments on worked summertime and made payments on that car to a local guy, $50 a week or whatever. And I drove that 34 Dodge for a few years and then sold it. But I had a few 30s and 40s cars that ran. And the thing about them, even if you have the parts and even if they drive well, they can't go on the interstate and do a comfortable clip.
Yeah.
Like our cars,
right.
The 60s cars can. They were just a little out.
Oh, a 60s A body is just as wonderful to drive in modern traffic.
They
handle it just fine.
And if you want air, you can put air on it or have
right.
have an air on it. I personally don't want all the stuff on maybe, for every one. I don't want air on every one of my cars, but it'd be nice on one.
I must get a return for any complication I add to a car.
Well,
if I had any complication, it has to be for a solid reason. That's why I don't like the rubber isolated suspension. And I don't like any complication. Mopar Man 78 says, in the early 2000s, I owned a 76 Volare Premier two-door with automatic floor shifter, factory 318, factory crank sunroof.
Cool. That's
rare. How about that?
Yeah, that's a rare. I've never seen one. Actually.
Power windows, bucket seat, slotted mag wheels.
Wow, that's a fancy one.
That's a
Premier. I guess that was the upper trim level. That's like that 76 four-door out there that just came in this week for the carburetor rebuild.
Lunar Outlaw Garages, I think it depends on what you grew up on. I grew up with dual overhead cams and fuel injections. I agree with sorry.
I agree with him. No, don't be sorry for it. I agree with you 100%.
Right. No, he's right.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But they just, the newer cars, to me, with all this, technology, they don't light my fire.
It's too much complication. You know what? I went to a car show here recently. And it was really something to me because I don't go to many car shows. But to me, a good car show is going to a junkyard.
Oh, yeah.
That's a much better car.
I quit going to junkyards.
Yeah.
I mean, pull apart does nothing for me.
Oh, no, not modern. But I mean, where stuff's all in the woods.
There's nothing left anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, like when they're all in the woods and stuff.
I can only see that on other YouTube videos.
Right.
We don't have any around
here. Well, so, shoot, I derailed my own train.
I see some of the rusty ones that they drag out on some of these YouTube videos.
When I go to a car show, I went to a car show. It was in my hometown. And there were probably only 4 or 5 cars from the mid-70s or older there.
At the car show?
At the car show.
So,
and most of the car show were these 2000, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 and up Challengers.
Yes.
And it's so funny. They all had the hood up. And they all had this same piece of plastic laying there.
It is what it
and
is.
I get up within 20 feet of them. Like, I don't even see anything.
The only thing
I left. I was there 30 minutes and I left.
Well, I don't have that aversion to them, but I will never own one or have any late muscle. That's just not me.
Yeah.
But I respect the hell out of those guys for having that brightly colored statement piece, whether it's a Mopar or Camaro or Mustang. It's a muscle car heritage, and they're proud of it, and they're showing it off. They're doing the same thing I did when I was younger, just with a different piece.
But I wonder, will they be crafted?
They're car guys, but they're just not our kind of car guys as far as we're from time travel.
Well, here's what's a little different.
But I don't knock them for that.
No. That same guy though, like that has the Challenger.
Mhm.
Okay, he'll sell it or wreck it or whatever, and then just go to a Corvette. I mean, because there's no
brand
there's
loyalty.
no brand
No brand loyalty.
I don't have any
no.
brand loyalty to the modern Chrysler stuff. There's no DNA connection to the old stuff at all. It's Fiat Chrysler. So to me, nobody is stockpiling parts for these things yet. Time will tell, but I think that all this massive complication of computers
it's not going to be friendly. It's already showing on some of the old cars around here. It's not friendly.
Yeah,
they're crushing. Just look at your eyes. Open your eyes and look.
Well, okay. Like for instance, if that car right there were in a flood, you could clean it out.
Fix it.
You clean it out, fix it. Right? It wouldn't even be a thing. Right. If you got a flood in a 2015 Challenger, what do you do? I mean, you're gonna get somebody to create a new computer program. I mean,
and the aftermarket.
How do you fix it?
That.
How do you fix it?
And the way we're going politically, the legislation won't allow the aftermarket to support. Amount of time.
Well, sure.
It'll be legislated right on out of it.
You guys haven't seen it yet. Speaking of this stuff, there's a guy in Finland that has.
I'm glad I got to see that.
He had a Tesla. He had a Tesla, and the shop wanted $22,600 to put a battery in it. The car had 932 miles, and it started throwing error codes and everything. And they said it needed a new battery, $22,600. So he said, "Nope, I'm not going to pay that." He sticks 66 pounds of dynamite in it and blows it up. So, yeah. Tall Jones Fun Shop is asking, do you prefer built cars or stockers? Well, I like some of both. Depends on what the car is. What say you?
I'm a restorer to the point of the correct bolt head if you can do that on your correct, proper car.
Yes.
But I also have dreams. I have hanging up behind me an M-Code 6-pack setup and a fiberglass hood on the wall with a 6-pack scoop. And I will put that on a little Dodge Dart with those big headers I got hanging on the wall back there. The CPPD. They're the old Chrysler performance parts headers.
Right.
But anyway, that's going to be a hot rod. But my style of hot rod is sort of so old school. Like, if it doesn't have the dog dishes and the painted wheels correct for that model, I would want American mags. I have a couple sets of 5-spoke American mags, vintage small ball pattern, very rare. But if I'm going to modify it, I have vintage parts I'm going to put on my 69, like some Offenhauser, intake or valve covers or something like that. I don't want the new stuff. I don't want any fuel injection. There will never be a fuel injected anything in my life. And I have nothing. I understand fuel injection. I'm sure I could be trained to work on it, but I have no desire. And I understand the benefits of it. But I'm just not. I'm a carburetor guy. I'm a carburetor guy. I grew up with it, so carburetors are not evil to me. Carburetors are just a fact of life to me. But no one else. I'm 63 years old, and what I know about carburetors started when I was 12 years old. People can't do that. They can't absorb all that knowledge and experience today. So I understand why fuel injection is being put on the car.
It's funny because I've talked to younger guys and they think of carburetors as these temperamental things that you could never have on your daily driver. And I always tell them, what do you think everybody had on their daily driver
up
in the 80s?
On my beaters, in the fast idle works, you give it a tap and it comes down the next on a 20-degree day. It doesn't matter. They're 7 and forget them.
It is heartening to see. Like, I know that Bad Tree Productions, Lunar Outlaw Garage, those guys are in their mid-30s, and they enjoy their stock 75 Duster with a Slant 6.
Well,
and their
that's
63
cool.
Cadillac.
That's cool.
That gives me hope that they're enjoying these cars for what they are.
I'll tell you, as a Mopar enthusiast and being in the business and a lifelong nut, it disappoints me that the whole Mopar community, including anybody that might be watching, that for the most part, they 4-doors were parts cars, 4-doors were grandma cars, 4-doors have such a stigma. I don't see the true Mopar guy. He ought to have a 4-door Slant 6 car and be proud of it and shine it up and make it nice.
I agree.
Instead of that 2017 used car special that's you know 15 grand. He could buy an A body.
You could get a lot of A body for 15
Oh
grand.
my God! If you knew what you were doing and were a hands-on car guy, you could have the most beautiful little four-door grocery getter that knocked down 15 to 18 miles per gallon in the real world and was reliable as an anvil. They don't get any more reliable. I mean, there is nothing more reliable than the Slant 6 A body.
And the Slant 6 A body is a great drive out in traffic, great driver car.
I swear by it. But if it's a four-door, you just turned off 3/4 of the crowd. You know, that thing, they won't even look at it.
So I remember one time going to a junkyard. I won't say with who. They may be watching. And and one person said to the other, because we saw like the nose of something sticking out of the weeds, and said, "What do we have over there?" He says, "Is it 2 doors or two too many?"
Of course.
And of course, you know, never even then. Yeah. So.
And he was going to look for a Slant 6 motor in a junkyard.
Well, but I'm just saying, was it 2 doors or two too many? So 4 doors just meant nothing. And the big cars, all they would do is just got pull that 440 out, crush the rest. They just couldn't even think there's any value in the car.
And we've all seen this, and you're going to see it more as our gas prices continue to rise.
JMR, I know that. I'm glad you're enjoying this.
The guys, you know, there's common sense for an everyday driver. Now, if you're not driving this old vintage stuff, we're not even talking about everyday drivers. That's what I'm talking about. But the guys that get the everyday driver, and it was a Slant 6 car or a 318 poly car or whatever, and the first thought is to stroke it or 440 it or whatever. That's the hot rod mentality. I know where it comes from. I've been there, done that. But you're going to enjoy your car in the long term, if that's what your plan is, by keeping the car practical and sensible.
Yes.
And I don't care. Start with what you have.
Yep.
And even if it's just now, if you're going to build a pro touring car, you don't need to fix 9-inch drum brakes and rebuild them on the Valiant because you're going to throw it away. But we're not talking about that. But start with what you have and rebuild it mechanically. That doesn't cost a lot, and you can do that a lot in your garage.
This is great advice.
Yes.
You young guys watching, that's exactly right.
Don't worry about chrome. Don't worry about the paint. If you're going to worry about paint the small parts. Learn how to develop your skills. But do the brakes. Make sure you have good rubber. Make sure you understand the alignment and the suspension that's been rebuilt or in good shape. Get the car where you can enjoy it and it's not a piece of crap and it's a pain in the butt. Get it where you can enjoy it.
Yep.
And then if you're lucky enough to have the drivetrain functioning and running, just nurse it on. Don't rip it out of there.
Yeah.
You know, if it needed a valve job, which is sometimes it's not bottom end, do the diagnostics. That's the thing. Don't just rip it out there because it doesn't run. But if it just needs a valve job, consider, having the head redone and go on with that motor. If it's a Slant 6, it may have 50,000 more miles left.
There is so much value in understanding the systems on a car that people just don't care about. And understanding a carburetor. Try to rebuild one. Learn how to build a carburetor instead of just replacing. I'll say on a valve job, it doesn't cost a lot to do your own valve job. If you're careful, you can do a valve job.
You can do some part of it. I generally, up until all my life, I've never had any grinding equipment or anything, so I've never done that. But I mean, I can lap them and inspect them and clean them and do some simple stuff. But usually some of these cars, they will park for a reason. If it was parked in the garage or out in the backyard and sitting. My feeling is don't just throw away and say, I'm going to buy a new Hemi motor or this or that. Fix it, learn it, enjoy it, and then spend your money on the cosmetics. But have your car 100% before you worry about painting it. Get that thing where it's tip-top shape where you can take it across the country if you want.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah. And sit on a, to me, and this is only my own preference. I have ratty this, and I've grown up on ratty crap. But to me, ideally, get the mechanics right. And then to me, my most important part of the car, besides the outside, I don't need fancy paint, but I would like the next upgrade where it starts costing money is the upholstery.
Yeah,
I would like a nice, even if it's a 4-door, whatever. I'd like a dash that didn't have cracks and seats that didn't have tears. Simple stuff, but then it gets costly. I cannot sew, so I'm at the mercy of like everybody else. But you can take an old car and you don't have to turn it into some obnoxious monster. I see more people. They take that 6-cylinder whatever or a 318 car, and they 4-barrel it, and they may not have tuning skills, but they 4-barrel it and dual exhaust it,
Right.
and cam it. And now it doesn't get near as good a gas mileage, or it's not as enjoyable and practical. And then it sits in the yard, or they complain about it, or they lose heart and sell it. You know, instead of.
I see a lot of people
like
that they'll take a car and they just take it apart, and then they start thinking, you know, where am I going to get my parts? What's my budget? What's my skill? And just like, well, we've already taken the entire car apart.
Oh, you're talking about like to restore.
I see that all the time.
I've heard of that too.
Well, yeah, restorers and quotes.
Don't take your car apart like that. That's my advice. Take it from me. Don't take your car apart. And if you must, bag it and tag it.
If you're going to do one like that, first of all, you need a really good size space. Because that car
good size space.
It's going to become a 3-car garage to do the one car.
Yeah,
and then you got to bag and tag and clean, and you got to know it inside out.
Don't do it.
So that for every 100 people who take a car apart, probably only one of them actually should.
My feeling, and then a lot of them don't know how to take them apart and sub-assemblies.
They destroy stuff. Yeah.
So,
gosh.
The way you need to start attacking it is like if the motor has to come out, pull the motor out and start doing the sub-assemblies on the motor, you know, rebuild the manifolds or the carburetor, you know, whatever you can do. But do the sub-assemblies before you go to the rear end, have the motor built and put on a stand again.
Yeah.
Or put it back under the hood, whatever you're doing. Don't take your whole car.
I like to do it in stages. So like I'll do the front end completely, the back end completely, you know, and just one piece at a time. I don't like just blasting everything apart because then things get lost and it's a mess.
Yeah,
and the idea
and it gets overwhelming, especially to the average person that's not been there before.
And then people will take something apart and say, I'm not going to use that anyway. And then, you know, a year later or 5 or 10 years later, they say, you know what? There was no reason I ever needed to take that apart, take it out.
And don't get rid of anything you take off your car until you have a replacement in hand and refitted back to the car and make sure it fits. Yeah.
See, I saw people who took cars apart in the 90s, and back then there was still stuff in junkyards. There was this
and that available. Go get some help.
And by the time they got 20 years down the line, when they thought they wanted to start putting it back together, they said, you know what, I can't get this stuff now.
Well, then you get a bargain. You get that basket
then
case.
Then you
bargain.
get the basket. That's right. That's exactly.
I'm not afraid of a basket case if it's one of these vintage cars.
Loud Burns, he's saying 40 years ago, kids would hang around the shop and ask questions, but not now. No. Now they just want to know when it's going to be done, and that's what we got to combat.
I've been here for 30-something years, and kids don't even come around and look at this rusty crap. So,
well, I love it, but everybody's different. Everybody's wired differently. Mm-hmm. Mike Iben, by the way, he's the torque converter wizard. Did you know that? He is Mr. Torque Converter.
What does he do? Like modify?
He builds torque converters for a living.
Cuts them apart.
He builds custom torque converters for a living. He's going to build one for my dog.
What kind of machinery do you need? A lathe, definitely, and some kind of
and welding skills.
Right?
Yeah. And you got to know the science of it too.
Somehow too, right? Wouldn't they have to be balanced?
You know what? That's a good question. Maybe Mike, tell us about it.
You're dynamically balanced.
Computer-specific systems 30 years from now. Good luck. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, Muscle City Madness. By the way, if you're not familiar, Muscle City Madness, Ruben there, he has a Survivor 69 Roadrunner that was pretty rough. I think he said they were using it to haul a 3-wheeler up and down to the river, no doors on the car at one time.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, and he's gotten it and put a lot of pieces back.
He saved it?
Yeah, he saved it, but he says it's not restored. He's not interested in concourse, but he's interested in keeping it as a survivor, which is cool. He says, if I see one more fully restored Roadrunner with a giant stuffed Roadrunner or coyote in the back seat.
Amen. I don't go to the car shows anymore. I did my dues. I did pay my dues. But I don't hunger for the parts anymore.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Jimmy Fed said he put $105,000 on an '83 Cordoba, and it was a good car, but the steering had this remote feel because of the rubber isolators. I hated that rubber isolator stuff. They took a good design and made it worse.
That '83 Cordoba, that was 81 through 3, I believe. That was sort of a chiseled. They were fair looking cars in their day. Of course, they were sort of low power, but
Now, Bad Tree Productions, Blake says he wasted 8 years of his life working on neon RTs. And he said then he reverted back to A-body Mopars.
Amen. Hey, I
There
wasted
you
8
go.
years of my life with the
gotta
wrong
admit,
woman. At least you had something when you got done.
Oh, goodness. So, Lunar Outlaws Garage is saying, I will take you guys for a ride in the Supra. He has a Supra. If he's in your neighborhood, well, you know what? I would ride with you in it. I might have to wear a mask, but I would ride it. No, really, I would. He's actually a really good guy.
I would like to see him do more with that old Hemi-powered Chevy.
Yeah,
truck.
oh yeah, I know. I thought that.
I got fired up when he pulled that Hemi out of that. I watched him pull that Hemi out of that big old Chrysler Imperial or whatever that thing was.
That build had something for everyone, and
a cool truck. I mean, I wish it would have been a Dodge, but it was a cool truck.
The nice thing about that is that whole build was trollless, and I love it.
Was what?
It was trollless because it had something for everybody, but the pieces it had that weren't for that group made them hate on it. Which is just great.
But
if you're going to have something on a channel, that's just
is that
so the Chevy
still viable? Is it
he's chipping away on it, I guess. You can opine, Brian. But so he has a Chevy truck, and then it has Chrysler power and drift stuff. So the Chevy truck guys will still watch it because the Chevy truck.
Wasn't he put some kind of
they'll hate
or some kind of rear end in that thing?
I don't know, but they'll hate on it for what he's doing to it. And then the guys that like the early Chrysler Hemis will watch it because it's an early Chrysler Hemi, but they'll hate that it's going in a Chevy drift truck.
Well, it's better than going in the junkyard.
Right, but I just love it when you have something that so many people will watch and will find a few reasons to like it and a bunch of reasons to hate it. And that to me is good YouTube.
Well, I'd like to see it move under its own power.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
Well, all right, Brian. Mopar 10 said he found out he's 5% Swedish, which explains his occasional desire for Volvo.
Oh, my God. I didn't know they still made those things.
Yeah, that's a good quote for sure right there.
I'm sure all that European stuff is wonderful, but it's just overpriced, and
it's not. Let me tell you,
if you got to keep up with the Joneses by buying the BMW or Mercedes, what kind of life?
The last time that I worked on a Volvo was
you did.
Yeah, it was probably 10 years ago.
Don't tell anybody.
Well, okay, so I know a guy who was going with me to a football game, and his Volvo starts overheating on I-81. So me and my older Dodge, we go and get him, go to the game. After the game, stop, pick up a thermostat with a flashlight in my teeth and a wrench in my hand. We put a thermostat in so he can get back. And I'm thinking, you pay so much for these cars because they're so exquisite, and yet, I don't know. Not me. I don't see the value in
he didn't cook the motor?
No, he didn't cook it. But I told him, I said, let it cool completely, get off the next exit.
Hey, getting back to our little A-body, look forward or A-body, less is more, like we were discussing. How many times I've been in my little 67 POS Valiant four-door at the drive-through window at the bank or fast food, and you see them do that crawl out the door. The late model crawl. Women, men.
Tell us about this.
This is the people that have the late model car that only comes with power windows, and it's 8 years in or 6 years in, and the power windows failed. So now they pull up the driving window and they do this bizarre crawl, like a limbo coming out of that car to get, put the money in the little drawer. I said, man, I'm here my $300 POS.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, I wish I could have videoed it. I call that teller crawl, that bank window crawl.
I saw a guy do that one time at an ATM. And I didn't realize for a minute what it was. His window would go down. And the guy, I thought he had a ball joint in his waist because he turned like 90 degrees. Like, where are your legs, man? How are you even doing that?
I look like one of those break dancers or something.
I don't know. Yeah, Lunar Outlaw Garage says life's too short not to mess with any petrol engine you can get your hands on. Well, I mean, I'm glad we've got choices. This is America.
Yeah, for real. They make one for everybody.
Okay, Lunar Outlaw Garage is talking about the 1UZ swap. When I see engines designated by letters, I just, makes me go a little fuzzy.
Hey, Lunar Out, this is directed to you, guy. I'm 63, and one of these whole mission statement things about me here in my life. I'm still, I'm trying to obtain that doctorate degree in vintage moparology. Every year, every week, every month, not every day, but most times I'm learning still, no matter what, doing the same thing a different way or the same thing, learning a better technique. I'm learning and getting better and better and better. And I've been doing this all my life.
Yeah.
If you want to learn on new stuff, that's fine too. But
Well, Dean Stevenson says 318 in a Tesla. You know, well, that fixes the battery problem, but it doesn't fix all the other stuff. Yeah, Mopar Den has a 4-door 72 Coronet Custom. It's beautiful.
Cool.
Hoosier says in the late 90s.
Is he driving as a daily driver?
You pretty much daily that, don't you, Dennis? I think
he didn't cut it up and make a race car.
No. It's all stock. It's beautiful.
That's a family car.
Hoosier Garage says late 90s used to find all kinds of A-bodies for 500. Yeah, you did. You did in the 90s.
I bought all I could.
Yep. The new what did I read there? What was that that I passed there for just a second? Mopar guys love Mopars from 1914 to 2022. I'm a Mopar guy.
Amen.
But to me,
what are those Maxwells or whatever?
What Mopar do they make in 2022? Because Fiat's making something with a licensed name.
I love them, but they won't get my wallet. I don't have enough wallet to go there. I don't have a burning desire for a new Challenger or a new muscle.
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about earlier. Battery Production says the new Mopar kids grew up in 4-door cars and vans and SUVs, so a 4-door Dart isn't disgusting to them like a Gen X. Exactly.
Yeah, well,
you're exactly
I'd like to see more of those 4-doors
totally
fixed up on channels or shows on the road. Yeah.
I know where there's some 4-doors. There's a handful around.
Where?
I mean,
I probably have more here than most people. Everybody else across.
You got the whole market corner.
Well, I only have a handful of them, but they're the better cars to fix. But
oh goodness,
whose autos? Oh, okay, we saw that.
Yeah, got a Hemi in my Mustang. It's a Boss 9.
A real Boss 9. What kind? What does he have?
He says it's a Boss 9. I guess you're talking about the Causey engine. Jimmy Fed said, asking you, have you ever helped anyone convert back to a Slant 6 from a V8?
No, but I had a bizarre.
Great.
I had a car come here a few years ago. It was a '67 Dart GT convertible. The man had it for 30-something years. And when he bought it, it had a '69 Slant 6 in it, running away with a 904. Looked like it grew there, but it was the wrong year. It was just slightly different. 69 Slant 6 in there. And it was tired. It was rattling on the bottom. Had a lot of miles. But anyway, the car was originally a 273 V8 2-barrel automatic car. So that red motor on my thumbnail sketch that everybody just saw, that is the motor I built. It's a little 273. I sold them a motor and a transmission. We converted it back to a V8 car using as much factory flavor and correctness as we could. But it wasn't bad. I had all the parts, but if you're trying to put one back, year specific, it gets difficult to find all that stuff.
Battery Productions is saying something that I really agree with. He says 18s in the quarter mile is just as fun as 12s. That philosophy is important for your race crowd because that is the philosophy that keeps people from butchering cars for high performance. Because we used to see a lot of cars, they would just hack the weight out of them and trash the originality in the quest of going faster. And
even muscle cars.
Yeah, they would. And they weren't any happier because there's always somebody with a faster car.
Yeah.
So
they left a trail of broken cars.
It's what's like they say on Uncle Tony's Garage, it's not how fast you go, it's how you go fast. Well, that keeps people from ruining cars.
I fully understand what the bottle rocket's about.
Exactly.
I fully understand it. And I have no love for that particular B-body 4-doors. If I wanted a B-body 4-door, I like the 68 and 70, 68, 970. Like the Adam, was it Adam 12 or one of the police cars?
Yeah, it was. The Roadrunner police car.
Yeah, the 4-door, right. But anyhow, with that being said, I even heard a little bit when Uncle Tony put that car on a diet here and there. Removing a few pieces and sections.
Well, let me tell you.
But I respect the hell out of it, and I want to see that car turn some good times.
So first of all, I was watching it pull both front wheels off the ground.
I saw that picture.
And I took that picture. Okay. Second of all, people just don't realize when he says he's lightened it. When that car's idling, every panel on the
Sort
car
of shaky.
is doing this.
Yeah.
And you can't really see it good on video, but when you're there in person, like all of the
Is
substructure
the
on
hood a
the
little
doors.
flimsy on that car?
I mean, every panel, quarter panels, doors.
It's
hit,
got some weight removed.
bump-
from
oh
that
yeah,
car.
that car weighs 3,020,
I don't
It's
know
a
what it
beast.
would have weighed.
and it's
He knocked
still
probably
and it's
500
still
pounds off. in
it's
one.
still
Has
more like 800. It still has the full interior minus
glass,
with glass minus
working
the
four
car.
doors, working. They open and close. on
Working
those
four
hinges.
doors,
Yes, sir.
roll up and down windows. Still has the full dash, the seats,
Yeah.
door panels.
Yeah, he could have thrown all that out if he was a real race,
It's
race car builder. But
nobody
he didn't.
believes
Yeah.
what that car weighs, but I actually he and I put it on the scales.
How fast do you think that? Well, optimistically, what do you think you might be able to tune?
Well,
that car
just
to?
I would say like it is, provided without parts breakage, it really ought to go 720s just like it is. Because if you look at the 60-foot times, okay. Just Mopar Joe's Barracuda runs a 158, 159, 60 foot. It runs 720s in the eighth. It would run mid 11s in the quarter, right? So Bottle Rocket, really close on that 60 foot. It should run in the sevens like it is. I would say, a little more tuning.
Has Tony ever run that car on nitrous? That car
He
has
has,
nitrous, but it's never
he
run on
has, but
nitrous.
the front end in it had a problem with the control arm.
That was
bushing.
at Jake's.
And then it blew a rocker arm apart.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, if he can fix the breakage problems, the power.
but he's
is
actually
there.
tried to run that nitrous through there.
Oh yeah, he ran nitrous. He sprayed it before the 60 foot a time or two, and wow, that car comes out of the hole hard. It runs.
Mm-hmm.
So Dust Devil Garage is asking, do you sell only resto parts, or do you have any vintage drag racing stuff?
No, I have no vintage.
Yeah, this is a
I got-
resto.
I
shop.
have a few, like I said, aftermarket intakes and this or that, but that's just for my plans, my little collection, but not much.
Tall John's Fun Shop loves your rants. He says they're refreshing Mule Deers.
Amen.
Yeah, see, Lunar Outlaw Garage says he wants the Buick Sport Wagon for his family hauler. Yeah, I agree.
What's a Buick Sport Wagon? What's it?
When I hear Sport Wagon, I think of
modern
National
car,
Lampoon's Vacation. That's what Sport Wagon sounds like. Jimmy Fed said only a few years ago, pre-67 A bodies were cheap. Yeah, but
Yes,
they're
they were,
starting.
but those days are over.
Yeah.
And
those are
finding
really-
a good one. If you're trying to keep one original and you want all the original body and trim pieces on it that are nice, it's hard to find anything that's good. I mean, unless it's been restored already, but
Yep.
it's hard to find a four-door that's not beat up, like the front grills and this or that, where you're going to have to replace it. But a two-door, I mean, hell, the ones I see every once in a while, they're Craigslist basket cases.
Yeah.
They're parts cars that all the crap's been took off of,
Sure.
and then they're asking two prices for them.
Right. Nick V, glad to see you here. Police auctions are fun. Yeah, that's true. We don't really have them where we are. We have like state surplus auctions. Brad O'Connor from Christchurch, New Zealand.
Wow.
Yeah, only 39 likes. But see, as soon as Don and Wendy English say we're light on our likes, they go up to 44 because nobody wants to get on the bad side of Don and Wendy English. 44. That's right. That's right. Yeah, turn out the likes for Mr. Parks here. He's a great guest. This is a lot of fun.
Well, maybe I see things just a little different than other people, but we're all out to do our own thing. But I just wish some people would understand, people that see something in somebody's possession. Eventually, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Get in line is all I can say, but I'm going to try. I'm not a senile. I've never been a senile old coot sitting on this crap. I got a plan, and I'm going to try to utilize some of this stuff to sell and carry on with my plan at this point.
Well, just know that all of this stuff has had to have some kind of caretaker to survive this long.
I'm the one that carried. I picked it up and carried it into 2022.
There had to be somebody.
It's been a burden. How many hours of weed eating around keeping the grass? You saw my car pens out there. Think about when I had hundreds of cars in my other yard and go out there in the middle of August and go out there with your weed eater and spend a weekend
How long has that been since the?
I crushed in 2006. I crushed 250 cars out of my main yard, and I moved 125 to a secondary yard.
How many did you crush?
I crushed 250, mostly C bodies and B bodies, and I parted them out. I lived off those cars and paid for the shop. When they went in the crush, I'm not saying no good parts got crushed. You can't save it all. But like B body parts, they were shells.
Yeah.
And anything that was good, I put away.
Yeah.
C body parts, I pulled the big motors and transmissions out, still got them.
Yeah.
But some of the C body stuff, it was hard to sell then, and it's almost useless now. And I love C bodies. I'm a C body fan.
In time, C bodies.
Well, I still have some C body parts I've got to help people with.
Diane Mendez is saying, you may have already talked about that beautiful 68 Dart behind you, but can you mention it again for those of us who did? She came here a little later than some.
Yeah, that's a 1968 GTS 383 727 automatic car. It's a real factory big block car, and I think that's one of the 1,100 something made with that automatic. I forget the exact numbers, but it's sort of rare to find them these days. And I bought that in 2003. Running, driving, just like you see. That paint on it is presentable, but it was put on in 1987 or 86. That's how long ago that car was painted.
Lived inside, obviously.
Yeah, I've put about 15,000 miles on that car. I've enjoyed it for 15,000 before I took it off the road. It'll be back on the road in the next year or two.
Yeah, everybody's got different styles. Mick B's looking for a turbo coupe. Like he's talking about the Thunderbird, I'm assuming.
Oh, like the 80s, like the Bill Elliott style? Is that the Bill Elliott style?
Well,
right? When he ran that number 9?
Yeah.
It wasn't a turbo coupe.
But I guess it's like that Glidden style, that.
Oh, the drag racing.
Yeah, it's that kind of Thunderbird.
Real rounded looking.
The doorstop looking Thunderbird.
Yeah. You don't ever see them around here. Nothing.
Brad O'Connor said, I've had the worst year health-wise, but shows like this keep me going. Well, I'm glad we can.
You just had the worst year what?
Health-wise.
Health-wise. Well, get healthy, guy. Health's everything.
Man.
Try to get healthy.
Get healthy. Come play with us. We can do stuff together. Get over here. Party and said, I drove my Chevy to the levee and left it there. That's the line of the night right there. Jimmy Fitz said, I didn't think a Roadrunner would run slower than 15 seconds. Well, not supposed to. Ruben's working on that. It's going to get there. Car people are the best people. Well, I can see that. There's a lot of flavors of car people, and most of them are very good.
I've met mostly good car people.
Yes, mostly
good. Every once in a while, yes. Someone wants to act out a little bit or whatever. But mostly good car people.
Yeah. Well, that's with everything.
We're all peculiar sometimes, but not all, but most. It's not unusual to find a car person to be a little eccentric. But that's why they're car people.
Buick is the Mopar of the gym world. Okay, I'll take your word for that.
Hell, when I grew up, Buick's like an electric 225 in the late 60s, early 70s. There was 25 foot long.
Oh yeah,
they were
barges.
I'm talking about the ones of those days. They were everywhere. Think about those 455 high compression motors or whatever they had in.
Yeah.
The guys would kill to have a motor like that today to stick in one of their
Nick V is saying there are very few 87 to 88 manual transmission turbo coupes running around. Yes. You know what that means? There will be even fewer tomorrow. Yeah. So if you want one, look around.
Ante up.
Get serious.
Pay up. Get that money out and get it.
No window cranks in a 4-door A-body.
Amen.
No window crawls. Oh, well, I'll tell you.
Amen. Manual windows.
I like crank windows. I'm all about crank windows.
Amen. Less is more.
So Mike Ivan says, I recently built a 3,000 stall converter for a 5.9 diesel with a really big turbo for a sled pull truck. Well, that sounds cool. He works on a lot of cool stuff. He sent me pictures.
That must be a hell of a converter to take that of.
He sent me a picture where he was rebuilding a $6,000 Neil Chance Pro Mod converter.
A what?
It was a billet converter. I've never seen
what it go into.
A race car, a Pro Mod. There's a $6,000.
The $6,000.
$6,000.
I wonder how much horsepower that thing was going to.
Oh, probably 4,000. If I had to guess. It's crazy.
And made out of billet.
It was all billet, the veins and all.
Well, they can do something
I
now with
can't
that
even
technology,
imagine
can't
the
they?
machine to machine
If,
that.
if you can program it, it'll make it.
But that's, I guess, what it takes. That's not me, man.
no,
I'd spend
I'm lost.
6,000 on something completely different.
Yeah, I'm lost in. I can admire that technology or that machine making it, but I don't want
Yeah.
to.
Now Jimmy Fitz says British cars like the MG and Triumph are easy to keep running as long as it isn't
Rust factory time.
Yeah. Well, I've never really wanted to work on anything British like that. I've always thought they were just
It
bizarre.
might be challenging.
Yeah.
Where do you get the parts? I'm sure there's
Positive
an
ground
aftermarket.
electrical and
Uh,
like the
Mopars
little.
used to be positive ground before your days in the 50s.
Well, yeah,
in
the real
50s,
ones, yeah.
56. I went back. I think.
I think one of the MGs has 3 windshield wipers
Yeah, you're right.
because the
They did. I
windshield's
remember
real
as a
short.
kid, yeah.
That was the only one. That's so weird.
They sure did.
It reminds me of the movie Total Recall. If you don't get that joke, I'm not explaining.
Going by Stellantis now, we'll have to see what direction that goes. I look a little bit about it. I like their advertising, and I like what they've been doing with the Dodge trucks, the Ram trucks. But
Diana says this show reminds me of sitting around with our car buddies, just chewing the fat, swapping car stories. Well, good. That's actually what we're doing.
Yeah, I wish we had more groups sitting here.
Sure. Well, who knows? We'll do part 2. We'll have more groups in here,
and maybe some live, remote lives coming in.
Ruben's here is asking about Muscle City Madness. Is Ruben? He says, "What parts are parts you got too much of, and wish people would just buy them up and get them out of your way?" So, if you have an overstock on anything, what would it be?
I've got 31, 2 or 3 440 motors on this property. A couple of 3 are still in cars, and the rest are long been indoor dry storage. I have 20 of those 33 or 32 that I would like to sell. So anybody wants 440 motors, I'd like to turn them into cash, but I'm not selling any high performance motors in that group. There's 10
There you go.
10 out of 30 are keeper high performance hype stuff or the year stuff. The rest is what I call the 78 back 440s. I've got plenty of them.
Well, Bird says, thought the grandkids Bernoulli's principle. He taught the grandkids Bernoulli's principles today, and they asked what a carburetor was. We're in that time.
Yeah.
You know what? The best anti-theft device now is a manual transmission.
That's what people say.
People don't know how to drive one.
My yellow truck, my 77 Slant 6, 3 on the tree. Been driving it. I put 105,000 miles on it. That doesn't sound like much. It had 103,000 on when I got it, and it's got 208,000 miles on it now. But I've put 105,000 miles.
You know what? I bet you that besides the manual transmission, there are at least 2 other things that kids don't remember, because you can have a 21, 22-year-old born after the year 2000 now. There's 2 things I bet would totally mystify: a push-button door handle and crank windows.
The crank windows.
Now think about it. There are people in their 30s, I would say, who may have never ridden in a car with crank windows.
Or pickup trucks are like that now.
That just seems amazing.
I don't know if they make a manual window.
I don't know. Well, they don't put manual transmissions in pickups anymore.
I heard that.
I mean,
even the Cummins, from what I understand, there is that true? They quit making them in the Cummins.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
it's all automatic now.
Those Cummins, I've never owned anything like that. I'd love to have a big truck about 30 years ago like that, but those Cummins are beasts.
Oh, we got Drag Boss Garage in the house. How we doing, Drag Boss Tim? Nathan Carey. Rodney Bird. Oh, I knew he would get here eventually. We got to be on our toes now. We got Rodney Bird here. He keeps us honest.
Look at it. He's got a 68 Dart, a 270 trim level with the 360 and J heads. Hey, amen on the J heads. They're sort of scarce. I got a few sets of those J heads.
I love the J heads,
but they're just not available from my point of view anymore. But I'm surprised to see somebody working with them.
Oh yeah,
that's what I like. Everbrox or other later model stuff.
Well, let me tell you, that's what I want to build for my Dart Sport is the J heads.
Yeah,
I mean, I prefer them to aftermarket aluminum.
Well, I'm sure they don't flow as good as like a new Everbrox.
You would be surprised.
I have no idea.
You would be surprised. A lot of what people. They'll say they're better out of the box, and they probably are. But a good, competent porter can really do a lot with the old iron casters.
You know who impressed me when you mentioned that word porting? Mr. Joe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've watched his porting videos.
Where are you, Joe?
I know he has a feel like almost an instinct for what that air needs by looking at those heads and what he does.
Mike Ivan's asking if you have any Hemi torque converters. He's always wanted to see the inside of one.
No, never.
Yeah, Joe and I collaborated on a 318 in May, and Joe ported the set of heads, and I built the bottom end.
Was that the one that went to Louisiana?
Yes,
okay.
yes, indeed.
Joe's done a bunch of heads.
Yep, the distributor for it came from here.
Yeah,
Same
he
engine.
gets it in there and it
Yeah. Oh yeah. Lunar Outlaw Garages, I agree with that. I have very specific horsepower rating for the Supra, so I don't have to put a cage in it. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a can of worms. That's a way to get rid of all my rust. What with dynamite?
Like the Tesla.
Yeah. Lunar Outlaw Garage says, I love hot rodding, but not every car has to become chopped up. Yes,
I agree with that
100%.
100%.
Car. That's right.
And some of the cars, they just be nice family cars or everyday go to the store cars.
You know, it's just like
Instead of keeping them in the garage cars.
You know,
get them out on the road and drive.
If you find a Survivor Dart with its original 6, why in the world can it not keep that? I mean, there's hundreds of them that have been cut up for V8.
Out,
yeah, I know. There's hundreds of them.
Like I showed you this little green one I have in front. I bought it 30 years ago to do that too, but I didn't. Everybody wants to.
So Brad O'Connor decided to drive only V8s.
Are you ready for a drink? Or?
No, I'm good. I'm good. You can't buy Dr. Pepper. You can only rent it. Brad O'Connor decided to only drive
I'm
V8s.
going to be a little.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're just
comfortable if they don't mind.
No, we're just hanging out in the garage.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
He decided to drive only V8s 10 years ago, and so far, so good. Yeah, I used to daily a V8. There's nothing wrong with that. Diana Mendez is asking, would you happen to have the Curd appeal? The Curd appeal?
The Curd appeal, I don't know what.
Like the Curds? Mm-hmm. Tell John's Phone Shop says Olive Garden college. No, not yet. That'll probably be tomorrow. JMR said, I almost had a heart attack till I heard the full story about crushing cars.
What's that?
Yeah, you crushing.
I lived off I paid for this shop with all the parts, Mopar parts. The UPS trucks wore my driveway out. I didn't have to get the weeds out. Right. Now I spray with the garden spray to keep the weeds out. I swear to God.
Rodney Bird says he's in Milledgeville. How far is that from here?
Oh,
this is Summerville.
Yeah. We're above Rome, Georgia. Milledgeville is over there, this side down southeast of Atlanta, I believe. Okay. More east of Atlanta.
So he's on the other side of Atlanta.
Yeah, he's probably about 2.5 hours or 3 hours.
Got right through Atlanta. Yeah. Okay. Rabbit Transit Garage, Jay ended up with A-bodies when he sold his last B-body and couldn't afford one again. Yeah, there are people in that boat.
But you know, if you compare these A-bodies, like a 68, 67, 8, or 9,
right,
to a Roadrunner 68 or 9.
Yeah.
All those darts and A-body cars, basically it's like, what is it, 7/8 scale B-body. The way it's constructed,
a lot of it is,
the way identical. I mean, like the wiper systems on them.
Yeah.
You know, the emergency brake handles different.
It's common design language.
Right.
It's common design language. And even the trucks and vans are like that too.
Hey, you want to hear something funny?
Sure.
My little A-body Valiant, the 4-door Valiants, 67, 8, and 9.
Uh-huh.
The little cat whiskers, the belt line, the little inner and outer cat whiskers.
Right.
They're the same as the 68 or 9 or 70 B-body 4-doors.
Those kind of things are so interesting.
The same length. It's not just the same, but the staples, the clips are the same, but identical. I take them off B-bodies and put them on.
What are some other little odd things like that?
That's a weird one.
Yeah, that's a weird one. It's the 67 Barracuda and 73 Dart have the same hood. There's a few little
69
weird...
Barracuda and a 73 or 4 Dart.
Oh, that's right, because it's got to have the peak.
They got the little
69.
Right,
yeah, the peak.
Yeah, I've got some of those hoods.
And here's Diana Mendez flexing her trivia knowledge here with the frat zog. She's showing her extensive Mopar vocabulary.
I'm glad someone knows what that is.
Yeah,
I've learned what it is. I used to just call it that weird triangle thing.
Right? You like this?
Somebody taught me.
This is an educated group. This is a good group here, Sue. See, this is real Mopar people.
And everybody, you know what? All my friends, Ford, Chevy, import people, all welcome to hang out. All welcome to hang out. If you don't even like cars, you're welcome to hang out and come learn whatever you want to do.
I've never owned an e-body as far as owning and driving it daily. I've owned a few as parts cars and project cars that moved on. But e-bodies are beautiful and sexy. But realistically, in today's market, they're overpriced. They're crazy overpriced.
Big Mike's Hoopty Barn says.
That's a name.
I know, you gotta love some of these names.
Yeah.
Regretfully, I neglected my 72 Charger for about 30 years before I started working on it, getting it back on the road.
AMD makes those quarters now, I believe.
Love to see it.
Huh?
Love to
No,
see
they
it.
don't. They quit them? I'll be damned.
73 and 40 got it now.
I'll be darned.
Hoosier Garage says, I've never owned a B-body, but he has his eye on a few. And if he gets one, he'll be good with it too.
Okay.
Okay, Captain Do is now, so this is when we hit the weird hour. We start getting these philosophical questions, but they're fun, right?
Mhm.
Captain Do asks, if we could have a time machine, what time would you go to in the past or the future?
1968, 1969.
Okay.
Right there. If you wanted to hit 70, that's cool too. You know,
Okay.
70, whatever you're in the
All
Mopar
right.
world. But at 68, no earlier than 67. You know, 67 would be as far back. And I don't need the 70. You know, I'm not going to collect up Hemi Cudas in 70. But the 68 and 9, to me, that was it.
Okay. That'd be your time machine.
GTXs, B-bodies, and A-bodies. They were at their zenith.
Lunar Outlaw Garage says he'd like an E-body, especially Coupe. Now, I'm going to tell you what.
He'd like a what?
An E-body.
Well, ante up the money.
I'll
You
tell
get
you
out
what,
there, you
he-
buy them all
he-
day long.
He's a warrior, though. He will get stuff that is like the top half of it's still there. And that's enough to work with for him.
He's
And I
in New
admire
York.
that. Yeah.
I feel sorry for people in New York.
No, there is no amount of rust that scares that
Horrible.
guy. And I do admire that. 'Cause
That's
some people-
horrible. But
you
those
talk-
Canadians, there's some hellacious body fat.
They
in
are
those too.
You know what? It's funny because I had a guy tell me one time, he says, oh, that car was so rusted out. And I'll look and it's like, okay, it's got a couple little holes in the floor, a couple little holes in the quarter. And you can show the same car to somebody from, like
Clean,
Wisconsin,
yeah, that thing's
and they'll be
nice.
like, oh my gosh, that's a survivor.
Yeah, it's
You
as
know?
solid as a rock. Yeah.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
I'll be honest with you. I have shipped a lot of my southern parts up north over the years to help those cars and people. But they're braver than me. You know, I have my hands full financially trying to fix something I have down here
Yeah.
that's solid. How could you fix that?
You know what? There have been more good ways to save cars now than ever. And I do think that's great.
Well, I'm just glad that so much more sheet metal is out there now.
Greg McDonald, I'm glad you're enjoying these channels, and I am too. I'm enjoying making the content and sharing with you guys. Yeah, Rabbit Transit Garage says he would rather watch YouTube than regular TV. Absolutely.
I don't have a regular TV.
Yeah. Why?
I canceled my cable. I'm 5 years into it now. And at first I sort of missed a little NASCAR in my news, and I've gotten along without it. I don't watch NASCAR anymore. But I have no cable TV, nothing. I have YouTube. YouTube is the only visual entertainment or whatever you want to call it. That is the only thing I do.
What's up?
And you got a cell phone.
Yeah.
Don't even have a cell phone.
I don't tell the audience out there, I'm 63. I have never owned a cell phone. Every week I meet somebody that wants me to have a cell phone,
Right.
says I must have a cell phone. I have never had a cell phone. I have absolutely no desire to own a cell phone. It's not, and I don't want another bill, but it's not the money. I just don't want it. I have no need for it.
Right.
If I started traveling like I used to travel, fetching these old cars and, hitting the back roads, I would have a navigation or a cell phone for the navigation.
Right.
But I don't need it. I have this same phone number at my business since 1994.
Right.
857 CUDA 2832.
Really?
857 CUDA.
Give them the whole phone number with everything.
706. Well, they can get it later on.
I'll put it
print,
under the video.
But yeah, I have the same phone number for 30 plus years, and been here at 2 different locations. I've been here since '94. But anyway,
Captain Who's asking, is there a cat in there? Yes.
yes, I do
Shop
have a cat. It's a little gray bobby cat girl. She's about 4 years old. She found me and she loves Mopars. She won't go anywhere else.
JMR said, I wish they would have made a 70 M code Dart.
Yeah,
you
I
say
wish they would have made a 69, guy.
Well,
I'm trying to do that.
so I have a 70
Yes,
Swinger
sir.
with the black lift
Yes,
off hood
awesome,
and black
yeah.
wheels, black top.
It'd be perfect with a 440.
Yeah,
and
it
everything.
looks like what you'd have.
And even the little 440 emblems, you need to stick them
Yeah.
up on the side of the scoop there. You can build it.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
People gripe about what a guy
I'll
has in his
sell
yard
you
and usually
a 7440 motor. You can have a numbers matching almost.
yeah.
Hmm?
Deep Junk Garage says people gripe about what a guy has in his yard and usually don't have the money to buy one anyway.
And that may be true.
There are tire kickers everywhere.
Yeah, I've had a few here over the years.
Bronco
A tailless
McBain,
cat. It's genetic.
Bronco McBain, Happy New Year to you too.
A genetic tailless cat.
Lunar Outlaws in the house. Yes, he is. Low compression 440 RV motors. What about them? That's what Bronco McBain is asking. What do you think?
I'm not much for them that use the block. If you're trying to low buck something, yes, in the name of low buck, have fun with it. But it's low compression says it all. I have zero desire to have a low compression, nothing. You know, a Slant 6 low compression, that's fine. I don't have any desire for that. Put some pistons in there.
Loutburn says our hanger cat is named Huey. Hoosier is saying how many cars you got in your yard, Deep Jumper. Well, that's a good question. Floor dimmer, Bad Tree says, yes, I like the floor dimmer.
Heck, I don't know of any type. I've never drove any cars or
Had it up
anything.
here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
never.
The AM radio will mystify young people. Yeah, I agree. Let's jump forward, catch up a little bit on comments. All right, Captain Deuce says good night. All right, man. Thanks for joining us.
Where's Captain D located?
I don't know where he's located offhand.
Another time zone or halfway around
Yeah,
the
so
world?
Loutburn is asking me about the DeSoto Hemi. I've got to get a lug welded on the block, and then it can go for machine work. That is my holdup.
Whose Hemi is that?
Mine. I have a DeSoto Hemi.
What year is yours?
57. Has a cracked mounting ear on it, and I need to get that welded back on.
And how will that be welded, John?
Well, there's a welder I know who does cast iron. He does that for
With
women.
like a nickel rod type
yeah,
cast
yeah.
iron?
He'll do it. He'll do it right, and then I'm going to get it machined. I'm hoping it cleans up at 20, because if it cleans up at 20, I can run 57 pistons in it.
You can run
Not the 1957 pistons, which are 20 over,
something off the shelf.
and run a
without being
factory bore 380 bore. That's what I'm hoping for. They used side indicators from 73 all the way through the 80s. Yeah, they did actually. They used the 72 side marker lights all up into the 80s.
And I hate those cheap back.
Yeah.
As far as the beat,
Yeah.
that is a classic example. I love my Mopars. That's a classic example of the bean counter winning, and took all those beautiful 71 back side marker light designs. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
On a B body or A body.
They were so nice, custom made for the car.
Sunk
Looked
into
so
the car,
nice.
each style.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they bean count them and put a 29-cent blob of plastic.
You know
on
what's
there.
so bad?
I hate that crap.
So in 67, they didn't have it at all. In 68, they're like, oh gosh, we have to come up with this quick. Let's just stick a little round thing.
And it worked for the fans.
And then for just 2 years, they had one sculpted into the fender so wide. We evolved it as high as we could. And like, okay, now we want to put that giant blob. I didn't understand that
It's
at
just
all.
bean counting.
So it's only 2 years you actually had one made for the car.
And beautiful.
Yeah, and I know it looked
Quality.
like exactly like it
Quality.
meant to be there. I kind of like the 68s because it's kind of novel, but kind of neat. But 70, 71 are the ones made to be there.
Yeah, they were. In all the cars, even the C bodies have beautiful side marker lights in those years.
Don and Wendy English are hoping it doesn't rain at Carlisle. Well, you know what? I'd rather hang out at Carlisle in the rain with my friends than not. So I'll take
I've
whatever
never been
one.
there.
You should do it.
I've never been.
Me and some of these guys are going to be there. You can come hang out with us. Come do it.
It
Drive
cost-
this guy there.
No, it costs too much to travel for my budget. I can't do it. I used to go, the Mopar Nationals stuff years ago, but I've never been calling.
Wild Rose from 63 up will bolt to a 727. What are we talking about there?
Yeah, aluminum. He's talking about aluminum torque fight. Is that what he was talking about?
It sounds like it. I'm trying to catch up on comments. All right, Blake is out. He's got to take off. Got family coming into town. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. So, Bronco McBain saying low compression 440 to use a tow motor in a 76 Fury Suburban C-body wagon. Just swapped to oversized pistons, question mark.
I don't know. You know, I'm not trying to build somebody's engine, but to me, the only way I want a 440 in my life in today's world is a hot rod. You know, in some a restoration muscle car or a hot rod, and I don't want a wimpy 440. I don't have to have a top fuel motor, but I want a 375 horse 440 in my
one
muscle
thing
car.
we're talking about. You know, so Brad O'Connor says low compression V8s tend to be lazy, but here's the thing: a lot of the lower compression V8s also had other things that made lazy, like a lot less ignition timing. They didn't have much of a
Due to
cam
that
in them.
smog tuning,
Right.
Exactly.
So you can fix the tuning and get a whole lot of that back.
You could do a lot,
The
but it's
compression
still
wasn't
low.
the whole story.
Yeah, it's still low compression. It just doesn't do anything for me.
Bad Tree says, but the beacon counters let the D50 have 6 lug rims. I do not like 6 lug rims on a modern vehicle.
And help me with the D50 nomenclature. Which now the first thing I
D50s.
thought was a little Mitsubishi.
That's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. Yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm thinking.
And the little Dakotas 6 lug, and,
that's
and the
right.
Viper has
That's
6 lugs
right.
from
That's exactly,
dimension.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, the tooling.
Yep.
And I don't know why those vehicles would have had 6 lugs on them. I can't.
I don't know. That's just strange.
It is.
Well, guys, we got about 10 minutes left, because I'm not gonna tie up this fella too awful long tonight. So, if you got any good tangents or questions or anything you want to ask, be thinking about it. It's got a good crowd here tonight. Been a very fun crowd tonight for sure. NI99 rods and stick weld. I guess that's like a nickel rod.
He's talking over my head, but I've had a couple manifolds
Yeah.
repaired that process, but I wasn't
Yeah.
there when they repaired
I
them.
know you got to get it really hot.
And something about the cooling too, critical.
Wild Rose garages run 13/8 with an 8.5 to 1 455 olds and a heavy G body. Yeah, you can. If the rest of the tune is right, that really makes a difference. Jimmy Fitz said he had a motor mount ear welded on a 64 361 at the machine shop. It can be done. Yeah,
Cool.
I agree. That's exactly what we're going to do. Charlie
I was
Overfelt
thinking,
Runnings welded mine.
could you torch? I've got torches all my life, and I'm not afraid of
Yeah.
grazing.
Yeah.
On something like an ear, not a crack in a block, but something like a motor mount ear. Braze properly and then cut the hole back if the ear was like half broke off. Would it be strong enough, I wonder, in brass?
If you do, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the process is. I was talking to the guy who's going to weld it for me, and he said that most people don't get the penetration on the weld like they should, but he described it to me. But what I'm going to do is when I have mine done, I'm going to do a video on it. But I got to find that piece
The
of
guy will
cast
let
iron.
allow you to watch
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You film it.
Yeah,
Cool.
we'll film it. Diana Mendez says, great live. Hey, thanks. We're having a good time, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I love that 68 Dart, my favorite year. Hey, there's Dreadhead Hayden.
All right,
That's the fellow that you sold the distributor for.
all
Dreadhead
right. Hey,
How about that?
get that 72 out of there. It's on the highway.
That's it. That's it.
If it's not already, is it on the highway?
It's close. It's
Oh,
close.
oh.
He's got his starter on it, got his headers on it. He's getting it. He's getting real close.
He's done all the punishing stuff.
He's got his interior. He's done a whole bunch of work on the interior. Got to understand, he was interrupted by a hurricane. Where he lives is right on the front line of that hurricane.
That car didn't get wet.
No, the car was
Good for
saved. I mean, he was so fortunate. Didn't take off the roof off his house or his folks' house. He just got a piece of the roof of their shop, but they were up and running relatively quickly. A lot of people in the community got hit really, really hard.
I couldn't live down there near that.
But I'll tell you what, he's a hardworking guy, real smart. He's going to do a lot with that car, so I'm looking forward to it. We need to do a follow-up video on it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, see, for two reasons. One, I want to
See
do a
if I could
follow-up
take
video.
a test drive or something.
Oh, yeah. We need to do a follow-up video on the car. But we also need to go down there for more bull crawfish, because that was outstanding.
That's something they don't have up in Virginia.
See, here we are. No, not like they do there. So now, here we are. Here's our two welders in the house.
Yeah.
So Wild Rose Garage says, now see, these guys are smart. Preheat the cast. Wait a minute. All right. I'm going to go back to them. Preheat the cast, weld with nickel rods, small amounts at a time, peen it, and cool it slowly. There's a guy who knows. And then let's see what Brad O'Connor says.
I wonder, is that with an AC or a DC welder? That's another thing I've never known. I've heard it.
Well, he said with a nickel rod. Brad O'Connor says you can TIG weld cast using 3/16 stainless if you preheat and post heat. Okay, he's a welder for a living.
Yeah, I don't have any TIG welding.
And
either,
Johnny
that's for
Mopar
sure.
in the house.
Hey, Johnny Mopar. We were talking about you
Yeah,
earlier.
there you go.
Yeah, he's got the time difference. He
That's
just got off
right.
of work.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we had live for a little while.
I talked to Johnny about, he was showing his 69 Coronet wagon, and he saw like the hoods were stamped different underneath.
Right.
And I made a little comment on his video. He was questioning why it was different than the earlier hood, 68.
Yeah.
And I told him, keep air grabber, the ram charger system in mind. And what they did, they revised that bottom panel for the ram charger box to go under there. And that's what he was seeing was the extra tabs and places for the ram charger box.
See, this is the kind of stuff that not many people know.
Well, he's younger. He might not have seen too many of those ram charger boxes.
Johnny Mopar got a few years on me.
Does he?
Yeah. He's eternally young. What can I say? The Mopar Man 78 saying you have to heat up the metal, take the chill off of it till you see the moisture disappear. Yeah, well, you can see a lot of moisture coming out of cast when you heat it, for sure. So Rabbit Transit Garage saying Buddy did a 340 lug, preheated it and stick welded it. Yeah. It seems like that's the consensus on what people want to do. And Hayden is saying to come on down, Mr. Frank. You're welcome as well. Yeah.
I don't travel too much anymore, guys, so
You
that's
should do
probably
it.
not going to happen. But
They'll feed you
that's
good.
a nice
What can I
offer.
say?
Yeah, wonderful offer. But yes, sir, I don't travel that much anymore.
Mopar Man 78 says my dad is a certified black. How do you get certified in blacksmith? That sounds really interesting. I just don't.
He went to an old school.
I mean, what? I'm curious about that. The parts he has available more A body or B body.
I have some A body parts I will gladly sell, but they can't come off my. I'm not selling prize parts off my 67, 8, or 9 darts, but I still have a stash of some A body parts to offer people that you have to call, and then I've got quite a bit of B body small parts and some sheet metal for 67, 68, 69 B body stuff.
Johnny Mopar says Frank's the man.
Thank you, Johnny.
Deep Junk Garage says he could listen to Frank for hours.
Well, I hope maybe I can get on this again.
Well,
I don't know how.
Well, what do you guys think? We're gonna have Frank Parks back for another live? I'd certainly love to have him back on.
Could we get on there on a remote live?
Yeah,
somehow?
we could. But next time I probably won't be doing split screen, or we may do this again. But I'm enjoying it.
I'm talking.
You're welcome
You
back.
could be in Virginia. I could be.
Yeah,
Here. How does that work?
just like this, except there's a split screen, same way.
Yeah,
Yeah, these guys. I brought them guests from all over the place that way. But tonight, I'm fortunate enough to get to.
I'd like to be mobile enough to take a walking tour through the shop.
We can do that. If we have good enough internet, we can. ACC Garage says, good evening.
Hello.
Unfinished project. Now, unfinished project, his comments are too brilliant sometimes to be put into words. Sometimes they're just so esoteric and so far up there. They just can't be put into mortal words. Jimmy Fed says, yes, I vote yes. Absolutely have him again, according to Big Mike's Hoopty Barn.
At 7340 air cleaner, I've got 2 of them, and I have 2 340 motors underneath those 70.
Yeah.
I just showed John one.
He doesn't just have the air cleaner on the wall. He actually has the engine that goes with it.
Yeah, but hey, those were hard to find for me, and I paid up, like I was telling John, I paid up 20 years ago to own one for a motor I still have today.
You guys will see some
And
video
they're hard to
from
find.
our
Yes,
tour.
very hard to find.
Tall John says, have him back. Rabbit Transit says, come back. So yeah, we'll certainly do this again.
Yeah.
Because I knew these guys were enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I knew they would. Johnny Mopar says, my wagon is my only 69 B body. You have a 69 B body wagon? Was it a satellite or a Cornet?
And I think he might have had another 70,
How
wagon,
cool
or
is
his buddy
that?
had another year wagon. I'm not sure.
How cool is that?
Yep.
Any C-body parts?
He was talking about that hood. Yep.
Any
And
C-body
yes,
parts?
I've helped C-body people for 30 years, and I still have C-body parts. The most recent, I just had a man come out of Atlanta, and he bought a lower control arm out of my stock for his 66 Fury. He got in a pinch. They damaged one at the machine shop, pressing the lower bushing end. He came here, and we fixed him up. But yes, I have hard parts and some trim pieces for certain models, and some electrical.
You have a 69 and a 70 Coronet wagon.
Yes,
That is high
I
style, my
thought,
man.
and I think the 69 is a lighter colored one. It's white and yellow, I think.
Yeah.
And I want to say the 70 is blue, but he might correct me. I think he had a blue wagon on there, but I'm not sure.
There is some cat at Farmington Dragway who has a blue 69 Coronet wagon that he's been running at 8th Mile Drag for years.
Is
and
it
years.
a decent car?
I can't tell. It looks kind of rough, but it's got
Little
this
ratty.
bright blue paint, and he's been racing it, gosh, probably for 30 years. That car's been going there as long
Yeah,
as
he
I can
bought his
remember.
buddy 70 Coronet
Yeah.
wagon too. Yeah.
But you don't see
You know,
many 69
drag racing,
Coronet wagons.
You don't see any of them anymore around here.
No.
You go to a show, you might see one.
Yeah, we've covered a whole lot of ground here tonight. Got a lot of interesting folks here in the house. Still have 41 watching.
Well, that's good.
Still 41 watching.
That's good.
All right, guys. You have anything else you're thinking or want to ask?
Nighty night.
Yeah, we're gonna shut down. Really want to thank you for
Old
being willing
people
to do
have to
this
get their
live.
rest, right?
You. Well, I appreciate you hosting us.
Put me back under my rock.
No, I got the invite to come down here, and I wanted to do it for at least a year.
I'm glad you did.
And
I'm glad you
finally
did.
got to make this happen, and I'm
Yeah.
just tickled to death. Love to do this again sometime.
I wish I was more comfortable initially, or can get more comfortable. But maybe
Well,
in
so
time.
so I'll tell you,
It's new to me. But
for you guys, just what he's wondering about. We try to generally on my videos, I'll try to do like an intro just to let people know like who's in the video. But he's a behind the camera guy.
Yeah, I'm not. He aimed the camera at me for the intro. And
That's okay.
No,
That's
no.
okay. So what we'll do is we'll cut this out and we'll use this for the intro for that video.
Well, that'll work.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll work.
Problem solved. And now we'll use this part for the outro. That's a pretty cool tour. I'll paste this and recycle it, and only 39 people will know we did that, right?
I guess.
No, we took a tour of this place earlier, before we started the live, and man, it's an interesting place. I mean, just all kinds of cool cars. It's all of the cool stuff that you wish you saw in the yards that isn't in most yards. All kinds of, especially A bodies. I'm an A body guy, and he's got all kinds of A bodies, solid cars,
50
complete
plus
cars.
A-body cars here from 1967 to actually 74, but 50 plus. And my favorites are the 67, 8, 9s, and I have Darts and Valiants. And then I have quite a bit of more than a few 70 through 72. My small bumper Darts, I like those small bumper models also.
Yeah, this has been fun. And here's the thing. There are 6 tractor trailer loads of stuff here too. So we looked around the grounds, a little bit here in the building, but who knows? Maybe we'll do a follow-up to this and actually check out some of that stuff. So this is a place where you can do
I
second
wish you had more time.
That's right. We can come back and do another video. So
Well, we'll have to wait till next Christmas when you come down and visit.
I'll be back before. I come down here a few times a year.
Do you?
So we'll work that out. This has been great, and this merits doing a part 2, and I'd love to do it.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, and maybe we'll see some of y'all down the road.
Yeah,
Take
we'll
care.
wrap it down. Y'all take care. Thanks
Good
for
night.
coming out.